All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We know it's very, very cold outside. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order to get you home as soon as possible. It is 6:06. Welcome to Community Board 4's Wednesday, January 17th, public hearing and regular meeting. We're going to go right into our public hearing items, starting with the New York State Liquor Authority renewal application process. Before we have two applicants that are on this agenda, Moonrise at 1329 Willoughby Avenue. Is anyone present from Moonrise in person? Okay, great. Thank you. We'll call on you shortly. Also, is anyone present from Risky Dice DBA Kitchen at 1264 Myrtle Ave? Great. Thank you so much for being here. Before we go into hearing from the owners and applicants, is there anything that like Mr. Camacho or our board's permits and licenses committee chairperson would like to say? I don't see Melissa yet. Okay. Mr. Camacho, would you like to say anything?
No, but well, I know we have a tendency here, and we're gonna be mindful, and we're gonna respect everyone here, and we're gonna give you the opportunity to speak out. I know all of us gotta go home, but we want to be mindful and respect. And also, we have the A3 precinct domestic violence things there. They have stuff over there for you guys if y'all want to take home. They have sanitizers. They have stuff. So they come here to join us. They got flyers for auto things that coming out. So please, they also got a blood drive on 12/6. So we don't know, they're not going to speak because they're going to stay there for a while. They have to go because there's issues. I know I have our public chair is here. Maybe she would want to speak. Yes, I'm sorry. Let her get her stuff together, and then we'll speak. Celeste.
We'll give Melissa a moment to arrive. And just for the applicants to know, starting with Moonrise, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the business, your plans, hours of operation. Just keep in mind there are folks, you're on this agenda because there are concerns. So I just want to be very clear. There are concerns about the establishment, the way that it's been operating. You're going to hear from the community members this evening about those concerns. But first, we would like to give you the opportunity to speak a little bit more about the business so folks know who you are. So we'll go ahead and get started with Moonrise, 1329 Willoughby.
Hi. Oh, hello. Hi, how are you? My name is Rick Rosa. I'm a representative of Moonrise. Laura Jacobs, who's on the liquor license, unfortunately passing. Her father passed away, so she's in Europe right now. So I'm going to be here speaking on her behalf. And what exactly would you want me to tell you about Moonrise? So I can be clear. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the business.
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, right now we are we call it a transitional phase. Right now, we have not been open, nowhere nearly as much as we were the last time I was here at one of these meetings. I've been in the process of just raising some capital so that I can make improvements and change the entire business model, make it more into like a lounge. It's open Monday, 6 days a week, and a more casual thing, and not in a little kitchen as well to have food and things of that nature, so that we're not reliant on quote unquote nightlife. So that's really what's been going on. We've hired an impeccable security team. And they've really changed everything, all the noise outside and everything. I put all my energy and emphasis into security. That was like really the main thing. And then soundproofing. So I soundproofed and sound treated everything inside, and between that and the security to really maintain the outside, because we haven't had much issues going on inside, no fights or anything like that. And it's more about controlling the people outside as they're entering and exiting, which is really the main problem that we incurred before. And I'd like to think that we've made some changes from the last time that I was here speaking about that.
What are the intended hours of operation?
The hours of operation, they go from to 2 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Oh, sorry, Friday and Saturday. I apologize. And we haven't really been open that much during the week, like next to nothing. To tell you the truth, we went like I said, we really haven't opened nearly as much as before. I would like but starting in this quarter, I'm going to be doing things on Thursdays.
Thank you. All right. So we'll open it up now. We have another microphone that we'll pass to folks that may have some questions and testimony. Mr. Camacho, you'd like to speak first? Have Melissa speak first? Yes, let Melissa, and then the committee chair, and then we'll open it up to the board and then the public. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Apologies for arriving a little bit late. But Celeste, were we able to provide everyone with context and why they're here today? Just so I don't.
I briefly mentioned because of the volume of complaints that they're here this evening, they're going to be hearing from community a little bit more about those concerns.
Thank you. So I have an email here that I recently received from one of the community members and neighbors to you that live directly across the street from Moonrise, who after the nightlife walk with Assembly Member Davila and members of CB4, there have still been parties that have been going on till 9:45 a.m. And, you come forward to us today, saying you haven't been operating as much as you usually are, but there are still parties that are going way beyond your operating hours. And that is concerning to us. The amount of 311 calls that, we have here on record are just insane. And, as a community board, I can speak on the behalf of the constituents, of the neighbors, because we have been dealing with this establishment with a lot of issues for the last couple of years. We're on the defense. I know you're speaking about being in a transitional period. What does that really mean for you all? I know you said you beefed up security and you're trying to manage, the outside and trying to control, when people are spilling out from the establishment. But, there has to be some more initiative. I don't think we're in a place to say, we feel comfortable as a committee anymore, trying to provide more leeway for Moonrise because of its reputation, because of the continuous, complaints, even with the assembly member that lives right across the street from you all. So, we have our eyes, our ears open to hearing what the community concerns have been over the last few years. And, we're very disappointed because till this day, we've yet to meet the person who is, the operating acting owner of this establishment. You're one of the representatives. I have yet to meet the person. I know there was one meeting and it did not go well, and that was via Zoom, I believe, a year ago. So all of that to say, I think Christine is here, and I was referencing her email, but we have a lot of concerns for this establishment, and that's all I wanted to share. So thank you, Celeste.
Hello? Oh, you can hear me. You brought up, you mentioned that there was numerous 311 calls. My name is Alexander Otero. I live 1344 Willoughby Avenue between Whitecorp and St. Nicholas, right across the street from that building where Moonrise is. Now, the issue is not just Moonrise, because there's 5 others just like him inside that same building, 1329 Willoughby Avenue. So getting rid of him doesn't make a difference. We done had wars. Am I right or wrong? What I appreciate is that he complied, pay a lot of money for security. He's soundproofing the place. But in that 1329 Willoughby, we got 6 bars and 2 more coming on a 500 square feet of block. And I'm the one that has to listen to the noise. They got to come outside and smoke cigarettes. They got to curse each other out. We don't get no support from the police department either, because when you call them, they never come. I guess the people are that much educated that the police officers are afraid of them, because I see them approach other people in the neighborhood a whole lot faster. And this community board really has to look at when they issue these licenses for themselves, not have them come to our block with little petitions. Oh, we're going to open up a wine bar here. Can you help us? That's what they tell us. They come as a wine bar, the next day is a strip bar. None of them are from the neighborhood. None of them provide jobs for the neighborhood. None of them do nothing Now I got a skating rink down the block coming up that the community board issued.
Respectfully, time check. I'm sorry. We just,
we-
we,
What?
Yeah,
Yes,
we,
yeah.
2 minutes per person. We have a lot of,
All right, I'm just gotta say, you know, that
Yeah.
getting rid of one doesn't solve the problem.
Thank you,
thank
Alex.
you.
And just a
And
note,
just for clarification, to let everyone know, we do not issue permits or license. We don't do that. We make recommendations, we give the hours, and SLA does the rest. So we don't, we're just an advisory board. We advise them. If they don't listen to us, I'm letting everyone know. If they don't listen to us, then it's not our fault. We do our due diligence and make sure that together we conform and do what we have to. So we don't hand anything out. So I just wanted, for the record, to clarify, community boards don't give anything out. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Edward Kopp. I'm the community board member. I'm also on the licensing and permitting. I am a sommelier and a chef, and I'm a firm believer in the necessary of having a strong entertainment and nightlife district in our community. That said, I don't understand your business model. How are you paying your bills now? What I have been led to believe is that you are subleasing your space to other people to have parties. Is that true? Okay, so how are you paying your bills right now? You're open 2 days a week and you're in some sort of transition. Do you have a business plan where you're going to show me the ratio of sales for liquor to food? Do you have a plan to show me how you are not going to be just another watering hole? You say you want to become a lounge. What does that mean to you?
Well, to be clear, I mean, we want to like, you know, instead of having to rely on just nightlife, you know, because before we were a theater, which then transitioned into a nightlife establishment, and the theater costs were through the roof, you know, and but it brought in some income, not a lot of income, but not enough to kind of keep things going. So we had to restructure, and I have investors as well. Raising capital and you know, just restructuring everything right now, and to have a little kitchen in there and to create a quote unquote ghost kitchen that's going to service for like Uber Eats and all that stuff during the day, and also serve food in the evening. I'm not trying to be a restaurant, just want to have like a food component in there, you know. And then we do events that with different promoters, and we get a flat fee, and that's how we make money in the interim. Right now, it's just more about not turning a profit. It's more about just staying afloat until I get the next capital so I can go ahead and do what I want to do.
Anyone?
Hi, I'm actually a neighbor of yours, and I actually wasn't going to speak tonight because I've been made to feel pretty unsafe around your establishment on multiple occasions. But I'm wondering if here tonight you would be willing to commit to the hours of operation. That is to say, closing at 2 a.m. on Saturday, Friday and Saturday nights, or Saturday and Sunday mornings, and midnight the rest of the time, because that's not what's happening. That's not what's been happening. And it might be nice to have a big, strong bouncer at your front door, but the sloppiness of what you all generate is going up and down that block. I've seen people, like, I've called ambulances because I've seen people having like a drug episode on the side of the road coming from your business. I've seen people, like, as recently as Christmas, like coming out of there just screaming, crying, you know, just altered. They're just, I don't know what they're taking in there, but they're coming out not well. They need help, and they're disturbing the rest of us. And on a good night, yes, right? And you can't say no. You can't say no to that because the people who live nearby know about this. So I'm just wondering if you're willing to commit to those hours. You're opening your doors at the same time that you're supposed to be closing. So, I mean, are you willing to commit to that? Or is your business model so entrenched in all night raves that that's like the way forward for you? I see promotions that people buzz my apartment at 4 or 5 in the morning. My bedroom rumbles all night long. I hear it all night long. I have 3 or 4 different noise machines to drown out the vibrations from your establishment. So I don't know. I mean, are you willing to commit to these hours or? And how far, I mean, these are concrete questions, like these are actual questions. How far does your security guards, like how far, is that just like right in front of the door? Because they're up and down the block, they're right under my window. I can hear them. I see them. I see girls crying, yelling at people. I mean, it's really out of control. I don't think anyone here understands it until they've lived through it. Yes, we see each other. It's the only reason I feel a little bit safe talking to you. I've had one of your people bang into my car, say you're the one making the 311 complaints, which I'm not.
Yeah, please, one mic, please, one mic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it just so happened that
Yes.
All right,
of course.
folks, one mic, please. One mic.
So just to finish up with that, I've had people from your establishment like bang into my bang into my car, crash into my car, leave the car parked against my car, say, I'm here to do inventory. Yeah,
Please use the mic.
no, it's a RIM stabilized apartment,
Yeah,
actually.
like, okay.
You gotta use the mic because we're on Zoom and we want people here. We got, nothing,
Yeah.
no, don't worry about it. Nothing's gonna happen to you, please.
I'm done.
He said he's done. Anyone else? I just have a one. This is not the first time this establishment has been in this board. He indicated he was part of the property, he was part of the, at one time, he was part of the business. Then he wasn't part of the business. Then now they come with a different model. I don't think he's ready or set to set something in gold where he can be held accountable. There's no checks and balance in regards to the method of operation. 2, he's under the impression that just because people leave his establishment, he's not responsible. So I think this board needs to take, whether it's him, we start with him and then work our way across the building to find out the bad persons. That's what we need to do because we can't have this. I know PD went to the location several times and they operate to 10 a.m. the next day. So it ain't like they left at 2 a.m., 10 in the morning. So look at all those hours and he's only opening twice a day. So think about that. So it's ching ching, let the cash register ring. And he wants to make more money on those 2 days. He doesn't have a plan on what he's gonna do during the week. So we really need to tighten our screws in regards to what we can SLA and requirements.
Hey, everyone. Jessica Sabercio, Community Board Member. Just a general comment. From what I'm hearing, not only is this a health hazard, but also it could be bad business. You could lose money if, for example, well, to give context, if someone is inebriated as a result of drinking in your business, if they're injured outside or if they injure anyone else outside, your business would be responsible for that. So, I mean, I think that's a business incentive to make sure that your patrons are safe and those around your business are safe as well.
Anyone else? You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Everybody wants to make one guy the whole issue, but the whole issue is 1329 Willoughby. The landlord who rents that place so that these people could do whatever they want. You understand? It's not scapegoating one person because he's going to be gone and then somebody worse than him is going to come in. That's exactly what's going to happen. Starting to eliminate this one, to eliminate that one. We got a new one called Drum Dairies. It's a donut shop. His sign is blaring right through my window. He never closes. But like I said, because they're highly educated and they're a little brighter, I guess they could come and take over our whole neighborhood. You know? And that's what we got to get off. It's got to be enforcement there. People got to really come see what it is. This guy likes the nightlife, but he ain't been around the nightlife on my block because he won't let it happen on his block. I didn't know his name. If not, I would have mentioned his name. I forgot his name. There's no disrespect.
You're talking to us. Talking to
Us, how I feel.
say.
All right. Anyone else
Yeah,
on the subject
so
of
there-
Moonrise? Oh, go ahead.
There is a great part about community organizing and protesting. So if there is an issue with the building, and as we're hearing, there's more things than possibly, we haven't gathered in a while, but maybe we should just gather there. And if people aren't listening, we need to use the power of media. We need to use the power of what we have. You can only do so much, you know, through the time. We don't issue we only make recommendations, and usually the recommendations are very strict. But if they go outside of that, then we need to go out of our norms and then do something else. It's about doing something else. So if we have that much of an issue, let's sit outside. Nobody wants to go in there if we're outside there. They'll be 2 nights a week. I could be there 2 nights a week. Like, let's do something. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Des. That is it.
Thank you, Desmond. We will follow up. All testimony from this meeting will be made available to the State Liquor Authority. I want to reiterate that there is no formal review process on their part for renewal applications. This is a renewal application. However, the purpose of this hearing is to submit this testimony and all of the information that the board's office has received directly to the State Liquor Authority in an attempt to address this. As it relates to the businesses beyond Moonrise at 1329, we will follow up with them. I made a note about the sign issue at Dromedary Donuts. We can have I know. We can have a conversation. All I'm saying is that what you mentioned, Yeah. that's one mic. This is
You're wrong.
point of order for a public hearing. We will follow up offline is what I'm saying. I just wanted to make sure you know that I'm taking notes as to what you're speaking about. So we will address, as Desmond said, we have to do something, and we certainly will after this meeting. That's why we're all here today, to address this. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to the board members. We're going to move on now to the next applicant, which is Risky Dice Kitchen, 1264 Myrtle. Please use the mic.
Hello, my name is Vaughn Ferreira. I live in this neighborhood. I live on Wyckoff and Myrtle. I own a restaurant, bar, event space, kind of a community space. We do art projects. It's Black owned, minority owned all the way. We do premieres for movies. We deliver food. We're open from 12 midday to 4 a.m. on the weekends. I believe till midnight on Sundays, and what else? I was only recently addressed about an issue within the last 2 weeks. I've renewed my license 3 times before, and I never had a problem, never sat with you guys. The issue was with a neighbor next door to me. I had a meeting with him last week. I also joined the MEN program with New York City. So we're having that problem. Basically, it's a little sound coming out the back, and we're addressing it in terms of soundproofing and stuff. Other than that, never had a visit from DOB, NYPD, FDNY. Don't have any drunks outside. I mean, we're on a corner with 4 different bars, so it's a little noisy. There's Mood Ring, there's Bossa Nova. What else? I'm a little under the weather, so excuse me. That's basically it. I'm curious to know what other problems are happening because it's not coming to my attention and I'm not hearing anything. The one neighbor, Mr. Hernandez, him and I are speaking constantly. We're texting. Also neighbors in the buildings, they have my cell phone number. If it's ever loud, they text me directly all hours of the morning. I turn it down. They come and get food, etc. So I'm curious to know.
Thank you. So I believe what we have here from the 83rd are 8311 calls. And I was trying to just get some clarity and seeing if these calls were from the same neighbor that you have been in contact with.
So that's 8311 calls years.
Yes.
Okay. There was one neighbor, she moved out, but sometimes she would even call me when we're closed and say, turn down the music. I have those text messages to prove. I could forward it to you. So she'll be like, turn down the music. I'm like, I'm watching Netflix. The place is closed. Like, so there's other bars, there's other stuff. I could send you those text messages to prove it. But I also treated her kindly, you know, it's whatever. I try to help everybody.
Just for some clarity for folks, the application we heard before this has a history of complaints that go back during the pandemic. This applicant right now, to my knowledge, this is the first time we receive a complaint, 8311 complaints. So I just want to make sure that everyone, the board knows for context, this is the first time they were referred to this meeting specifically because the committee now has to review, in addition to liquor licenses, cannabis applications. So we don't always have time to have conversations with renewal applicants, but we wanted the board and the community to have an opportunity to speak up if there were any other concerns. That is why they're on the agenda today. And just for you to know as well, that's why you're on this agenda. Anything else for 1264 Myrtle? Yes? Wait for the mic, please. Wait. Wait for the mic.
Well, the building at 1329 Willoughby, are we getting a complaint from one person or for the whole building?
Ye-
Yeah, I know that.
We're at a different, at least that public hearing item ended, but
Okay, no problem.
to answer your question,
No, no.
one business is on the agenda this evening. All right, I see no other hands, nothing on Zoom. We will wrap up 1264 Myrtle Avenue. Thank you to both representatives for being here this evening. We will certainly be in contact with any follow-up information. In addition to the folks who provided testimony, thank you. We will now move on to the second public hearing item, which is city planning, presenting the City of Yes zoning for economic opportunity text amendment. Members, please grab some of the materials we have. There are more materials in the back for the public. And everyone, please pay close attention.
Stand over here. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Stand over here, trying to find a good place to stand. Okay. Shall I get started? Shall I get started? Okay, great. So good evening, everyone. My name is Lucia Marquez Regan. I am a borough planner at the New York City Department of City Planning. I'm joined by Krenza Wood, Deputy Director of the Brooklyn office, and Laura Smith, Deputy Executive Director of Strategic Planning. This presentation is about 15 minutes long with some time for questions at the end. Thank you for your time tonight. I know it's cold. So with that, I'll get started. Next slide, please. So City of Yes for Economic Opportunity is the second of 3 citywide initiatives by the Department of City Planning to update our city's zoning regulations for current times. City of Yes for Economic Opportunity is intended to support small businesses across the city. For the past year and a half, DCP has met with over 100 stakeholders throughout the city, such as small business owners, bids, chambers of commerce, and industrial service providers. This proposal has been shaped by that feedback. Next slide, please. The city's zoning articulates hundreds of uses or business types and sorts them by zoning district. It regulates the activities you can do within a business, and it regulates how large businesses can be. Because most of our zoning is more than 60 years old, there are outdated and sometimes confusing or counterproductive regulations. Our overarching mission for this initiative is that to make sure that New York City zoning works for our economy and to create zoning rules that are simpler, more adaptable, and reflective of the modern needs of businesses and our neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Knowing that zoning for businesses was in need for a refresh, we've been listening and working with small business owners, again, chambers of commerce, bids, industrial service providers, and other stakeholders across the city to learn the ways that zoning might be getting in the way of establishing or expanding businesses. We've met again with over 100 groups, 5 public information sessions, and with countless New Yorkers on the challenges that we face. And this proposal has been shaped again by these concerns. Next slide, please. So these are citywide proposals to change our zoning, and they apply to all 5 boroughs and all 59 community districts. To frame our discussion on what this means for Community District 4, here is a recent economic snapshot. There are 16,500 jobs in CD4, concentrated overwhelmingly in the institutional sector. Institutional includes things like public schools, hospitals, doctors' offices, and services offered by in-home care. Private sector employment is at 108% of pre-pandemic level, which is a percentage point higher than the Brooklyn average economic recovery and higher than the city's economic recovery overall. There are 2,090 storefronts in CD4 that are located on neighborhood streets and along commercial corridors, as you see on this map on the right. Storefronts are occupied by things like goods, retail, and restaurants, but also services like salons, laundromats, accountants, and other professional services located on the ground floor. About 13% of the storefronts are vacant, which is at a rate that's slightly higher than both Brooklyn average for storefront vacancy and then the city overall. Next slide, please. So we have 4 goals here, and goal 1 aims to make it easier for businesses to find space and grow by lifting zoning barriers so that businesses can locate closer to their customers. Next slide, please. We'll go through each proposal now. Yeah, next slide again. Okay, our first proposal is to lift time limits to reactivating vacant storefronts. There are thousands of storefronts located in residential areas, which provide vital access to local goods and services. But many of these storefronts may not be allowed under current zoning. Currently, if a storefront were to go vacant for more than 2 years in a residential area, there is no way in zoning to reoccupy the commercial space and it would remain vacant. This contributes to our city's storefront vacancy, and as a response, we're proposing to allow vacant storefronts in residential areas to be reoccupied, but without time constraints. Next slide, please. Proposal 2. Today, neighborhood retail corridors are typically zoned C1 and C2, while higher density or more centrally located business districts are typically zoned C4, 5, and 6. While there are other important differences between these districts, the zoning sometimes makes arbitrary distinctions between which kinds of businesses are permitted in each area, sometimes enabling corridors where opposite sides of the street allow for different kinds of businesses. We are proposing to allow for a consistent mix of businesses between C1 and C2 districts and a consistent mix of businesses for C4, 5, and 6 districts, removing barriers along corridors that are getting in the way of businesses being able to locate in a particular area. Next slide. Currently, zoning restricts most production activities to the city's industrial areas. There are kinds of clean production which produce minimal noise, emissions, and traffic that may be appropriate to locate in commercial areas and may benefit from being located closer to their customers. Clean production examples include businesses like food and beverage making, apparel design, and jewelry making. These businesses would be subject to environmental standards to ensure that they are not negatively impacting their neighbors. But we think this proposal would allow New Yorkers to make things and sell things in the same space. Next slide, please. Proposal 4. If a building tenant changes from offices to makerspace or other manufacturing businesses, they may trigger additional loading docks. Adding additional loading areas might be too expensive or simply not feasible due to site constraints. We want to enable adaptive reuse of existing buildings by not requiring additional loading docks for a change of use. Next slide, please. I also, realize that the font is pretty small on the screen. We'll be sending the presentation as well for review. Okay, proposal 5. Today zoning allows for many businesses to have a mix of residential and commercial uses, but zoning sometimes restricts businesses from being able to locate on the upper floors, making it challenging to create a mixed-use building containing residential and businesses to be built. This proposal would remove these barriers by permitting commercial and residential uses on the same floor in a C1 and C2 district and allowing commercial uses on the same floor or above residences in higher density C districts. When commercial uses are on the same floor or above, they would be required to provide separate entrances, elevators, and lobbies. And for potentially noisy uses, requirements would include a 15-foot separation between uses. So 15-foot separation between, say, a commercial space and residential space, or installation of materials to attenuate excessive sound between uses and residences. Next slide, please. Proposal 6. Many sections of the zoning have not been updated to reflect changes in business practices or the economy, and therefore include confusing terms that are no longer applicable, which make it harder for small businesses to know where they can locate and know what they can do with their space. For example, zoning is very clear on where telegraph offices are allowed to locate, but it's unclear on where cell phone repair can go. We're proposing to simplify and modernize the terms we use in zoning to classify businesses. Next slide, please. Goal 2 aims to support growing industries by reducing obstacles in zoning for emerging business types. Next slide, please. Today, zoning contains enclosure rules that make it unclear for businesses to determine which components of their business can operate indoors or outdoors. For example, if you're a florist, it is unclear how much of your business can occupy the outdoor portion of your lot. Additionally, today's zoning text is unclear on where outdoor urban agriculture uses and greenhouses are permitted, especially if the uses are enclosed. This proposal would clarify that indoor agriculture use, such as vertical farming and hydroponic farms, are permitted in commercial areas. This way, food can be grown closer to communities. Next slide, please. Proposal 8. Currently, life science laboratories face confusing and outdated rules that slow the development of new facilities. We would like to make it clear that labs without the potential for environmental hazards are appropriate in office settings or commercial districts. And we'd also like to expand the special permit so that labs can locate closer to future research centers such as hospitals and universities. Next slide, please. Proposal 9. In 2017, the City Council repealed the cabaret law, a discriminatory law created to restrict dancing and singing in restaurants. However, zoning hasn't been updated to reflect this. Today, zoning has confusing regulations on whether restaurants and bars can host live music, dancing, comedy shows, or open mic nights. We are simplifying the rules so that they're based on size of the venue rather than activity. Nightlife venues are still subject to permitting and enforcement by other agencies such as DOB, FDNY, and SLA, and the liquor licenses, as we heard earlier, will go through the community boards. This proposal is not to encourage nightlife to locate, but to make the regulations easier to understand and follow and reflect the change in policy made by our elected officials. Next slide, please. Currently, zoning has old definitions of amusement businesses and do not consider nor define experiential amusement businesses like trampoline parks, virtual skydiving, virtual reality, or arcades, and they are often restricted to our M districts and to Coney Island. We're proposing to revise the zoning text to ensure that types of businesses are included and can be located indoors at a small scale in neighborhood commercial corridors and at a larger scale in more centrally located and higher density areas. These businesses would also be allowed outdoors through a BSA special permit process. Next slide. Today, zoning allows for a wide range of home businesses, including lawyers, jewelry makers, and music teachers. The pandemic changed how New Yorkers work from home, but zoning hasn't kept up, prohibiting specific occupations like barbers or interior decorators and other restrictions that hinder business creation. We know that a lot of small businesses start in the home, and we're proposing to enable entrepreneurship with updated rules for home-based businesses while keeping in place safeguards to ensure that they are being good neighbors. Next slide, please. Goal number 3 is to foster vibrant neighborhoods by ensuring businesses contribute to active, safe, and walkable streets. Next slide, please. Today, zoning does not comprehensively address streetscape design in commercial districts and instead is regulated in certain special districts. As such, there is nothing to regulate the condition of long blank walls, drive-throughs that break up retail streets that create unpleasant and unsafe conditions for pedestrians walking past. We are proposing to create a consistent ground floor design rules for commercial districts. Next slide, please. This proposal would define 3 tiers of commercial districts, tier A, B, and C. Tier A streets are tier A streets are the city's more auto-oriented corridors and would have more relaxed streetscape requirements, while tier B and tier C are in areas with greater pedestrian activity and have stronger regulations. CB4 has primarily tier B areas, which are pedestrian-oriented corridors, where there will be standardized rules on transparency on the ground floor, curb location, and more, all to ensure a safe and enjoyable experience. Next slide, please. Currently, zoning restricts auto installation, service, and repair businesses to mostly industrial areas, but includes exceptions for glass, seat cover, and tire services. In practice, that means that some auto servicing and repair businesses are located on a neighborhood commercial street where vehicles can spill onto the sidewalk and creating safety concerns for pedestrians. We're proposing to define auto servicing uses in the zoning resolution into 2 categories: light and heavy vehicle repair and maintenance. Heavy vehicle maintenance must be licensed by the DMV and would continue to be allowed in manufacturing districts, while light vehicle repair could locate in commercial districts only after site approval by the boards of standards and appeals. This proposal would require more review of auto servicing on commercial streets that are close to residences, something that's not required today. Next slide, please. Today, zoning has outdated regulations as it pertains to delivery activities, creating situations like we see on this slide, where delivery trucks parking on our sidewalks and causing traffic congestion where most goods delivery occur on the sidewalks and streets, and that is not within empty storefronts or office buildings. To encourage a decentralized and more localized approach, we are proposing to create new types of uses in our zoning called micro distribution facilities, which would be allowed. We would allow these businesses to locate at a small scale in commercial areas and would encourage smaller and more sustainable methods of neighborhood delivery instead of trucks. For example, what we could see is like a small 25-foot wide store, such as a UPS shop. Next slide, please. Our 4th and final goal is creating new opportunities for businesses to open by establishing new zoning tools that can boost job growth and business expansion. Next slide, please. Today, large-scale residential developments such as NYCHA campuses are zoned as residential districts, meaning that retail, service, and maker spaces generally cannot locate here, placing residents of these developments further away from local goods and services. This proposal would create a CPC authorization to allow up to 15,000 square feet of commercial space in an existing or new construction on a large-scale residential campus, giving residents greater access to necessities or the space to grow a new business. Next slide, please. Currently, zoning restricts local retail like bodegas to commercial areas. We would like to provide an opportunity to allow for corner stores to be permitted in residential areas, but only after they we would provide an opportunity for local corner stores to be permitted in residential areas, but only if they are providing access to local goods and services, be under 2,000 square feet, and locate close to an intersection and receive approval by the City Planning Commission. All corner stores under this proposal would be referred for input through environmental review and determined to not negatively impact neighborhood character rather. Next slide, please. Today, zoning sometimes store want to expand or occupy an empty second floor, but find that the size limitation or location rules prevent them from doing so. The department is proposing to allow businesses to use a CPC process to waive some zoning on a case-by-case basis. And next slide. Lastly, our manufacturing districts were mapped in 1961 when suburban-style industrial parks were envisioned for much of our city's industrial areas. Currently, many M districts are low density, have high parking requirements, and do not allow for the building shape to reflect the needs of today's industrial users. This proposal would create a new job-intensive zoning district at a range of densities and heights to expand the zoning toolkit for future rezonings. Next slide, please. Not all these so the Department of City Planning received Community Board's letter and request for additional time and consideration and are responding to this request by saying that we are accepting Community Board recommendations within 60 days, but we'll accept all recommendations made we receive until the City Planning vote in February. This means that boards will have again, all of January, we're in the middle of January, to compose their recommendation and submit. We are giving you some certainty and recommending submission by the Community Board by January 1st, or rather January 31st. Next slide, please. I'll close by offering resources and an opportunity to opine on the robust proposal. The department has created tools that can be found on our website. Some are displayed here, such as existing condition snapshots, which I shared the CD4 snapshot earlier, a detailed proposal description, annotated text, and use group translations. My last slide here before we open up to questions is that there is an optional worksheet we're encouraging community boards to fill out to give feedback regarding each proposal and whether the board supports or does not support the proposal, why, and if any modifications would be needed to support the proposal. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions.
I will have Celeste, what you want to do.
We're gonna do a stack, starting with Ms. Spellin. Please keep your hands raised, everyone. Ms. Spellin, Desmond, Zach. I see Christian. We'll start there and then we'll keep moving.
Hi, I'm Annette Spellin. You talked about the, in proposal 4, I believe it was, you talked about businesses in residential buildings. What type of businesses are you talking about? What size residential buildings are you talking about? What kind of responsibility will the owner or landlord have with this? And who's going to issue permits? And who's going to do inspections when it comes to this?
Thank you for your question. There are two proposals. One that includes upper floor commercial, which is proposal 2. So that is talking about commercial space above the ground floor on the same floor as residential space, which is different from another proposal, which is home occupations. I'm happy to answer questions on both, but I'll start with the upper floor commercial proposal. In terms of what could be located on the second floor right now, there are potentially offices that are allowed on the second floor and would have to remain vacant if things like a doctor's office that was on the second floor left, and we're enabling an opportunity for other businesses to use second floor space. Anything I believe that's on the first floor would be allowed that is allowed on the first floor would be allowed on the second floor, but this is only after the building can provide separate entrances. If there's elevators, they'd have to provide separate elevators, separate lobby spaces. So in theory, you wouldn't be able to see or meet any of the renters or residential businesses, residential people in the same hallways as the commercial areas. So that is a question on upper floor commercial, but in terms of home occupations and landlords, so this proposal does not supersede landlord or co-op or NYCHA anything within their leases. So if a landlord says like we're not allowing any type of home businesses, that is what supersedes this proposal. So no home businesses would be allowed. But in terms of what could be allowed in a home, there's a lot of different things that are allowed currently. And we'd be able to then expand the home business types and also expand this amount of space that they're able to use within a home. But there are regulations, again, nothing can be sold that is not made within the home. And no more than 3 people total are allowed to work in a home-based business. I hope that answers, I know it was a lot. I hope that answers your question on both proposals.
Yeah, who is responsible for the permits?
Permits. In terms of permits, so the everything will have to go through, DOB in terms of building. So DOB will handling the permitting of space and building of that space. In terms of like licensing for home businesses, that's based on the occupation. So we wouldn't be issuing licenses. That would be based on the type of business.
The mic, use the mic. Use the mic.
I want to know, will there be any restrictions? I sat through this with District 9, so that's why I'm coming out like this. They raised a point that I think is very important here. We have legal marijuana businesses all over the place. Most of them are not licensed. What is to keep these people from taking a residential apartment on the second floor in someone's building from selling their product? Who is going to monitor that type of thing?
Thank you for that question. In terms of, thank you for listening to the presentation twice also. In terms of kind of things that you might want to see in addition to what we have on our proposal, that's kind of part of the recommendation packet that we're really encouraging the community board to submit for this proposal. If you have specific modifications that you'd like to see in order to support the proposal in the specific proposals in terms of, I think it was home occupation and upper floor commercial, we'd really love to hear that feedback. I think I'll pass the mic to other enforcement answers.
So, just to repeat the points that Lucia made, only the sale of goods made on site would be legal as part of this proposal. So you can't sell something that you haven't manufactured on site. And then as far as enforcement goes, it would be, the same type of enforcement that would be required today if somebody was selling something illegally out of an apartment, but also there will be new infrastructure in place because this is a permitted use on the whole, regulated by DOB and by other licensing authorities. You would be entitled to call up the licensing authority and let them know that there's a business operating that's not licensed.
Hold on, we have a stack, folks. Next is Desmond, and then Zach, and then Christian, and I believe I saw Miss Bennett's hand.
Thank you for that presentation, but I had a few questions. It's the same kind of kickoff. It's about the economic feasibility for communities to participate in this new stock of a business or space that will be opened up for businesses and how that's going to be made affordable. But there's one thing that caught me was that the facilitate local commercial space on residential campuses. Residential campuses by design are subsidized through their construction and rents. So the commercial spaces on the campuses, will they be subsidized at cheaper rents?
That's a great question. Thank you for answering. Thank you for asking it. In terms of like this proposal, we understand that there's a lot of different reasons why there are challenges for small businesses to locate, zoning being one of them. Currently, on large-scale residential campuses, the use is not allowed at all. So there isn't even a possibility for the space to open on a residential campus. And this is an opportunity to provide that opportunity for residential space. I know we've been working really closely with NYCHA, with SBS to talk about how this proposal could be used in the future. But I will defer to anyone else if they have anything else to add.
Yeah, because I mean, we all know that NYCHA buildings are subsidized, so therefore their space is subsidized, so we shouldn't be charging market rate rents for commercial spaces on NYCHA properties. That just makes sense.
Thank you. And I would also like to note, a member of our commission also brought this up too. It's something that is on the forefront of our mind in terms of, space and subsidy on NYCHA campuses. Thank you for raising it. Again, encourage it included in the recommendation.
So number 18, it goes down into create new kinds of zoning districts for future job hubs, job intensive zoning districts. Now that sounds really nice, but how does that play out? Like, what does that mean? That's just a really nice word. And how does the people within the community in those districts intertwine within this new job intensive zoning districts? How does that work?
Thank you. So this proposal is mainly for M districts, so manufacturing districts. Currently, there are limited tools for manufacturing districts that exist. This is an opportunity to create new districts to fit some of the needs that aren't being met right now. As we mentioned, there's high parking requirements in some of our M districts right now that don't. We're creating these new tools to kind of go over a little bit more. There are 3 different types of M district tools, and specifically that could be mapped in manufacturing areas, which include M1A, which is a growth district, which is intended to be closer to residences, and a M2 transition district, and a core district, which is for our heaviest manufacturing uses. So that's. If you have more questions, I can keep answering.
Just a point of information as well. There's a handout from the council, the city council's M Coalition that was given to everyone, all the board members. There were some extras in the back for those that came in, first come, first serve. It's planning for New York City's industrial future. That's at the top. So if folks want a little bit more information on proposal 18 and what the city council has been talking about, please review this. We'll keep moving.
Sorry, the last thing I'll note about the M districts is they would be required to have a rezoning to be able to map these M districts, and those go through ULURP, which Community Board will hear the projects and proposals that would use these in the future.
You sure? All right, there we go. First question that I have, and I'll say I have 4. I'll try and keep them quick. For auto repair shops. Understanding that in our community, many of these businesses that would be impacted are, local folks who have been here for a long time, Black and brown owned businesses. I want to understand if there's a grandfathering in process or how this would actually work. I want to make sure that people aren't going to be forced to relocate in something they can't afford.
If it's okay, I'll answer each question as you ask them. Okay.
Totally.
Yes, so that is the case. This is for, new, as long as they are currently complying with their zoning, yes. They would have, this is for new auto uses, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. On point 14 about micro distribution, I know you talked about small UPS shops. I think that's great. We want less big trucks going down our roads. But the question then is so what types of transportation methods do you envision for that quote unquote kind of last mile transportation? Not really clarified here. And I know that a point of concern in the community has been, the rise of e-bikes and things like that. So in other parts of this proposal, you talk about increasing zoning possibilities for green infrastructure, charging stations, things like that. It seems like these would almost need to be necessarily tied together. But I want to understand what your vision is.
Thank you. In terms of green and charging, that was for carbon neutrality, which was passed by City Council recently. So thank you for bringing that up as well. Excuse me. In terms of micro distribution, there's a DOT study pilot program right now that's working on micro distribution and alternative alternatives for delivery. Happy to forward that along. But mainly, bikes, as you mentioned, and hopefully even pedestrians walking to their local micro distribution center. That's another, vision.
Got it. Yeah, kind of like the Amazon locker type of situation. Totally. Awesome. I also have a question about NYCHA zoning that's less related to like market rates and rent and all that sort of stuff. As I understand it, like on the first floors of many NYCHA buildings and other sort of community run or community spaces, you see other types of things. You see recreation centers, you see health centers, you see all these other different types of things that are really important to have close for folks in those buildings, oftentimes elders, or folks who may not be able to get out. And so my question is, we're then like opening this up to retail businesses that would be charging fees for maybe some of the same services. In what ways does this impact people's ability to access the types of like community services that right now are what we see, like rooms like this, that may, maybe end up being pushed out because the incentive then is to, charge market rate for a business that's going to be there when everything else in this proposal is also about opening up new spaces for business.
Thank you. This proposal goes for a lot of large scale residential developments, not just NYCHA, but I hear you on the NYCHA point. And again, currently the use is not allowed. Therefore, we haven't, I think there might be the slide's gone, but there's a slide of what it could look like in terms of an example. But I know we've been working with NYCHA and talking with them in terms of like how to use this proposal, what works best for residents. I'm happy, if anyone else has anything to add, but yeah, I'm happy to follow up with additional information on the NYCHA point of the discussion. Yeah.
Thanks. That would be appreciated. A point that I want to make to the board, like my concern, right, is like once the incentive becomes, like we know that our city always needs more money. So once my worry is that once we open it up and the incentive becomes to rent at market rates on then like, why would you ever hold that space for other things that are needed in the community? So that's my concern there. And then the last question I have is, you talked about corner stores, which I actually really love this idea of like having more local corner stores in residential areas. But you talk about local goods and services. I don't really know what that would mean in the context of like a bodega or something like that. And also I know that other folks are probably also concerned about folks selling, liquor or not liquor, but folks selling alcohol and cannabis. And so want to know if that's part of kind of the restrictions here and what you're thinking about.
Yeah, a part of that proposal is the environmental review of corner stores, and coming through. It's ultimately voted on by the City Planning Commission and would come to the community board as well. So in terms of the kinds of goods and services, like local goods and services being, what bodegas typically sell, eggs, but in terms of review, it would come to the community board for review, and of course go through environmental review as well, just to make sure there's no traffic congestion, other impacts.
Thanks again for answering. This is really comprehensive, and I know that's not an easy job to stand up there and answer all those questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Christian, followed by Ms. Bennett.
Hello there, Christian Celeste, Community Board member. I also have a couple of questions, so I'll try to go through them pretty quickly. The first is, can you tell us what has been done to study the impacts of these zoning changes on rent levels, inclusive of residential, manufacturing, and commercial?
We did complete an environmental assessment of the proposal in terms of, residential rents. I'll defer.
Sure. So the environmental assessment statement looked at the impacts, potentially generated as a result of the proposal. Because the nature of this is not one where we expect to induce additional development. It's really about making existing spaces work more efficiently and better able to meet the needs of the communities, with a few exceptions like generating development on large campuses or by authorization for businesses on corner stores. By and large, this is about reactivating existing spaces and enabling a wider array of businesses to operate, including small businesses, local businesses, and larger, chains. We did not look, we did not have to take a very close look at what impact this would have on residential rents. Our third piece of the City of Yes for the City of Yes, the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. That'll be before the community board later this year. That's where we really will be taking a close look on the impact of development and the generation of additional residential units. In this case, our conclusion was because we are going to be opening up opportunities for small businesses, for large businesses, for home occupations, for small corner stores, many of which have very small size limitations that are typically not appealing to sort of like these large multinational corporations. I think we feel pretty confident that this should be appealing to local businesses who may not be able to pay as much, particularly the second story component of this. Historically, we have zoning districts that allow second story commercial uses. They generate a much lower rent. So by enabling second story commercial uses along a wider array of our commercial corridors, we actually see this as a big opportunity to facilitate more spaces for businesses that may just be starting out, may not be able to pay sort of the premium for ground floor space, but who may eventually be able to sort of get their footing and move onto the ground floor.
So I appreciate that response. I'll just say to the board, my concern is that although these proposals don't induce development, by increasing the capacity for development of any given lot, you're increasing the value of that lot, and by increasing its value, potentially increasing its rent. And I think something that commercial businesses in our community consistently struggle with is their ability to meet month-to-month rent payments. So while this may provide opportunity at the bottom, it may not.
So just if I may just clarify, we're not actually increasing the amount of floor area that can be built on a lot. So we're not really increasing the value of the property. We're not upzoning. We're not adding FAR to a site. We are simply allowing a greater variety of uses in the commercial space that already exists. And which is why I don't think we see this as a trigger that will sort of induce development or even increase the property value of a particular location unless there's something inherent to the existing commercial space that's making it hard to tenant.
Okay. Next question is for proposal number 9. Can you confirm that this doesn't impact the SLA application process or the community board's role within?
In terms of the nightlife proposal is 9, yes. Can you repeat the question so I'm answering it?
Yeah, can you just confirm that it doesn't change the SLA application process or the community board's role in that process?
It does not change the process, the community or the community board's role in that process.
Cool. And then finally, for proposal 15, again, going back to the sort of NYCHA development question, is there any established mechanism embedded in this proposal to incorporate resident feedback in the use of that space? Or is the community board the only mechanism that's built in?
That's a great question. In terms of, I'll defer.
So our understanding based on conversations that we've had with NYCHA is that they incorporate feedback from their residents and they work with the residents in order to ensure that they're providing spaces that are meeting their needs. As far as what happens on a larger campus, so as Lucia mentioned, this isn't actually restricted to NYCHA campuses only. This could happen on a campus. A co-op board in that case would certainly have to approve it. This is not something that a single person could just sort of like do on their own. So certainly the property, the operator of the property, whether it's a co-op, NYCHA.
Okay, and sorry, one last quick question, just to go back to more generally, a lot of these proposals seem to include reallocation of residential space. Can you confirm the impacts that may have on our community's stock of rent regulated housing?
So there are several proposals, one of which include like upper floor commercial, for example. A lot of the upper floor commercial space that we envision in this proposal would be new development commercial space, upper floor commercial space, as there's a lot of regulations in terms of what would need to be required to even be able to have a second floor commercial space. So say, you have a 4-story building and they want a second floor commercial space, they'd have to provide a separate entrance, separate stairs for that space, which in an existing building is challenging to do. And so in that proposal, it's envisioned to be for places that could provide that, but for new development and also for some of the commercial spaces like in Midtown that are office space that want to be a more mixed use space as well.
Ms. Bennett.
Thank you. My name is Joanna Bennett, Community Board 4 member. I just don't understand. Today is January 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm looking at you and you're saying that you want this community board to make a decision by the beginning of February? What is the rush? What is the rush? These are things this is a very complicated, detailed proposal, multifaceted, multi-layered, and you want us to sit here and consider and not even be able to give our committees, like the Housing and Land Use Committee, the Economic Development Committee, chances to review, break this down, and decide on these issues one by one. What is the rush? And that's what
Thank you for that question. This project was certified in November, and we actually met with the Economic Development Committee at CB4 on the 28th of November. And so, we're excited to be here today to present the proposal, and hear comments and feedback as well. But yeah.
Hi, very briefly, Ann Guiney, CB4 Housing and Land Use Committee. They did present, but I do want to reiterate what we as a committee conveyed to all of you guys, which is there is a spectacularly large amount of information. It's complex. Some of the stuff is interesting and we support. Some of it we probably do not, or definitely do not. And for whatever reason, you guys were not able to present in October to actually give us some time to go back and forth and to really dig into it. So it feels honestly really rushed. I mean, if you can kick that up the chain and say a more iterative back and forth project to make sure that instead of coming before a community board with, respectfully, I have a hard time imagining how this feedback is going to get incorporated. A yes, a no check. I mean, it's not your fault, obviously, but this is not how robust and real and honest community engagement is ever going to happen. So what I would request on behalf of the committee and the community board is understanding that when you present 18 deeply complex proposals about zoning, that it is not a like, hey, we'll take letters until February 15th. Because I understand that's cooked into city processes, and they did come to us in November, but we'd asked them to come in November and they canceled like 2 days beforehand. So it's really something that we take this seriously. We try and do our homework, but it's hard for us to do our homework well if we don't have legitimate partners in that process.
Thank you for that. And I think we certainly appreciate where you're coming from, where everybody in this room is coming from. And honestly, we feel it ourselves. It is a massive proposal and it's a lot to digest. Just specifically to comment on this checklist that you've been provided with. We have found it incredibly helpful thus far through this process as other community boards have voted. Be thoughtful, as you always are, in how you're voting, of course, and in providing your commentary, because your opinions on these specific components of the proposal really do matter. As many of you obviously know, this is just one step of the public review process. Ultimately, this is going to the city council. Council members are looking at how community boards feel about the proposal in its entirety, but also about specific components. And they have the power to make modifications. Our own city planning commission has the power to make modifications. So we really do care about your feedback on each of the line items. I know it's a lot and we hear you completely on this. But I do just want to reiterate that that worksheet is very helpful for you in ensuring that what does ultimately come out at the end of this process is more likely to reflect the areas of your concern and the areas where you actually feel supportive and are, happy to see.
On that note, I will add that the worksheets were available for both the board members and the public. So please use them. If you would like to give them back to me at the end of the night, they will be reviewed. If you'd like to keep them, you can do that. If you want to email us your feedback after thinking about it further, you can also do that as well. All right. Let's keep going.
I just want to make a statement. I am it's a massive proposal, obviously. I own a business in the area and me, a mother of 4 and living in this area, barely paying my mortgage. It is really, really hard for us to get a place, like afford a place in a different area if it's not in our residential district, which you mentioning a few points that will allow a few people like myself per se. However, it's a lot of things for us to like really digest and come up with a real good answer. I would say that the zoning for me would be more on the canvas part of it, because having a canvas store in the corner where my kid goes to the store constantly, it should not be there. That I definitely agree on that. I think eventually you guys should do a zoning specifically for a red district in Bushwick at this point. I hate to say this, but like on Broadway and Myrtle, if you live in those areas, I feel sorry for you in a way. I hate to say it that way, but those streets seem to be more on the red district at night, not on Menahan and Central or things like that. So I hope this could be taking a little more time of us and get through it correctly.
Any other board members? Let all the board, let's go to someone new first and then we can come back. Yep. Go ahead, Jessica. You had something, Jessica? Yeah. And then, yeah, Caitlin. Yeah, so Caitlin, Melissa, and Jessica.
Hi, in terms of the first proposal, lifting time limits to reactivating vacant storefronts, if those are in buildings that are currently rent stabilized, if those units were to be brought back onto the market residentially, I know that's a challenging conversion that would take a substantial amount of time and not be particularly easy, but if those units were brought back on the residential market, would they be rent stabilized?
If I'm understanding correctly, residential units, if they're on the first floor, I guess could you clarify a little bit of what, are you talking about residential units on the first floor, commercial space on the first floor?
So if you have a vacant storefront that's been vacant for more than 2 years and now I suppose can't be vacant any longer, there's going to be some level of incentive to attempt to convert that unit back to being residential. If that's located in a rent regulated building and the unit is successfully converted, will the unit then be rent regulated? I want to make sure that we're not in a situation where if we potentially have the opportunity to reclaim some rent regulated units, that we're not missing that opportunity.
I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Units, the unit, the regulation confers with the unit. And so if you're bringing a new, in the example that you've laid out, this would be an entirely new unit to the market. So no, I don't believe it would be automatically sort of conferred with rent regulated status, but we can confirm and get back to you on that.
I have a question. I can actually chime in. You can't DM regulate a rent regulated unit unless you do a substantial rehab to the building. So you don't have to worry about the zoning of affecting that. In regards to given that it seems like we need more information regarding this, I would propose that we table our recommendation until we get full clarity, because these are representatives of city planning, so they won't have all the answers. However, I will leave our last comment for our council member who will be voting matter. But just to echo, these are the representatives of city planning. The people who actually make the choices are our representatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Just a point of information, if the board does not make a recommendation as was intended tonight, the clock will be up and there won't be a recommendation that's submitted in time for the deadline. So a recommendation is required tonight.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Jessica again from a community board member. I want to go back to proposal 11, the home-based businesses. It's a bit confusing. I'm unsure how that would be surveilled. I think earlier you mentioned that only products manufactured or produced in the home are allowed to be sold. How do you surveil that? And also, now, non-residential businesses cause issues with residential businesses. So I could already imagine how much conflict would arise if both are mixed within the same areas. For example, more value would be produced from the home-based businesses, which might increase the values for other residents in that same building. So just want to know, what thoughts you guys have around those and not only rent raises, but also surveillance.
Thank you. In terms of home-based businesses, there are a lot of home-based businesses that are allowed today under zoning that follow regulations that are outlined in the zoning as well. I'm happy to pull up the exact regulations in terms of what can be allowed. This proposal is allowing then to include some of the home-based businesses that aren't currently in the zoning resolution, like interior decorators and other businesses like that. In terms of enforcement, that is something that we really encourage neighbors, if they're hearing things or, to report to 311. DOB also works to enforce those complaints as well. If anyone else has any additional comments. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Melissa Carrera Solano with Community Board 4. I sit on the Permits and License Committee, and with Proposal 9, I have a few concerns in regards to quality of life issues, as well as the oversaturation that we have been experiencing in certain parts of Bushwick. With the current proposal, I see here that you would have a 2-person capacity depending on the business size. How much square footage is required for a 2-person capacity business to operate? Like how many square footage do you need to have 200 people?
Oh, that's a typical 25-foot wide storefront, is, what's tied to that number in terms of people capacity.
And that's my first concern. So thank you for clarifying. And then I see here as well, based on the capacity of the business rather than the type of live entertainment. So how will you all be working with us and continue to work with the state and SLA to provide enforcement? Because we've seen very little to none enforcement with the larger venues that are coming into our district and really, affecting quality of life and our neighbors, as you heard when you were here earlier in the meeting.
Thank you. In terms of kind of what this proposal is doing is I believe it's 2018, cabaret law was repealed, which was discriminatory against dancing and singing in restaurants. The zoning doesn't reflect that. So although our elected officials voted and repealed the law, currently zoning doesn't reflect that choice, vote. And so this proposal is designed to address that change. And in addition to that, it's designed to make regulations easier for business owners to understand, for us members of the public to understand, and hopefully then also be able to enforce as well. Yeah. And then
I also do just want to put in a good word for the MEND program. I know that an earlier item on the agenda cited a productive relationship sort of stemming out of this. This is a program that was created by the mayor's office specifically to address these sort of like smaller scale conflicts that often occur between eating and drinking establishments and neighbors. I was happy to hear that it sounded like a positive outcome for the case that we heard earlier this evening, but they really have been a valuable resource and strong partners with us throughout this. And just to sort of reiterate, this is not going to touch, like we will not be touching any interactions you have with the State Liquor Authority or anything like that. And this would not be expanding the locations where an eating and drinking establishment can open today. It's really just an attempt to sort of clarify that you can have a comedy night at a restaurant, on a Friday or whatever, or you can have a live band play. It's not really about sort of allowing bars and restaurants in a wider array of, districts in your neighborhood.
So Desmond Monroe, Chair of Economic Development, for CB4. I guess we're kind of late. So what I'm hearing is that a lot of people would, this is a robust proposal and they needed time to digest it. And I guess there wasn't any money in the budget to have more technical hands-on approach when it comes down to the community boards from the plan when you guys were doing this. But my concern is now that we understand that, a deeper dive is needed, but we don't have that time. I guess this goes to the council member, how are you going to make an informed decision if you're waiting, if you need our feedback and we don't really have the necessary information to give you an informed feedback, how are you going to make a decision about this? Like, how can you vote in our interest when we don't even know right now?
I had asked Celeste to be on stack just for this issue, just to say we're not voting on this until later this spring. It's wild that DCP and the city at large continues to do terrible, community engagement. And I know it's not the fault of anyone in here. You're not making these timelines, but this is a consistent thing that happens on every single process. Regardless of your recommendation tonight, you can reach out to me. I will say that I don't think everything in this proposal should be thrown out. Like, there are things that are very important to the economic development of our community and different communities in New York City. There are things that we've been doing on the side with the M Zone Coalition. We're working with Councilmember Gutierrez and other council members who have industrial spaces and manufacturing spaces in their districts to find ways to protect them, preserve them, invest in them, but also some districts want some flexibility. So we're working on that front. You can reach out to us at any point and express your concerns, both with specific amendments you would like us to raise, because we do have space and time to raise specific amendments with the bill in the hearings that are coming up. Regardless, you could send a letter from the board or from your committee to us spelling out those recommendations so that we have it. The clock is still going, so there's still time regardless of what happens here tonight. That's why I came here. We've been going to all 3 of our community boards for these presentations. We've sent staff to the borough board one. So we have gone through this presentation several times as community members are interacting with it. It's the same reaction every time because we just continue to do these kinds of processes. But please let us know and take the time to deliberate beyond this space so we can actually propose amendment or changes in the language in time. And then also, as a community, I really need your support in these hearings when they have public hearings about it. If you could write a letter, submit written testimony as your subcommittee and as the board, so that we can have that officially in the city council proceedings. Thank you.
I have 2-3 more people to talk, and then I'm gonna make a comment after that.
Once again, I'm Alexander Otero from 1344 Willoughby. I think your proposal is a little whack. Nobody wants the doctor's office right next door to their house. Nobody wants the pharmacy next door to their house. Nobody wants that one loudmouth lawyer in his room talking loud at 9 o'clock in the morning when you're on your day off. You got to listen to this lawyer do his job. I mean, we got plenty of empty storefronts, record-breaking storefronts that are so empty. The graffiti artists are having a ball. And that is the truth. I think what you guys should do is implement a plan where these storefronts are rentable other to the We Spots, the CVS's, and all of those that are willing to pay out their pocket deep for them and rent them to those struggling like her. Because that's what's happening here. We all know that. Who owns all these grocery stores? All these grocery stores are We Spots. What businesses you want to bring here? H&R Block? You tell me what you want on the second floor.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, my name is Alicia Boyd and I'm come from CB9. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. Actually, I lived in Bed-Stuy all my life until I became an adult. And so Brooklyn is very important to me. I'm studying rezoning and fighting the Department of City Planning for over a decade. So I read the text amendments. I read them. And there's so many things that DCP stands here and comes to you and they lie about and they just don't tell you the truth. Like, for example, you can have music and dancing in certain commercial corridors, but you got to get a permit for it. Now with the new regulation, you don't have to have a permit. You could just be. So you're already complaining about one establishment. Now you can have that same establishment inside of a residential building. Right next door to you, you can get a bar, a restaurant. That's a commercial space. What they told you is, oh, there's going to be 15 feet between the commercial space and the residential space, but that's only for establishments that are more than 75. So if you have a bar that only holds less than 75, it could be right next door to you. No space in between, right on top of you. And then the other issue is the manufacturing. They keep telling you that there's only going to be safe manufacturing coming into your commercial corridors. But pay attention to what that means. The commercial corridors also mean inside of the residential buildings, because now they're going to allow commercial inside of the residential buildings. So now you can have manufacturing businesses, both light and heavy, because there's no definition inside of the text amendments that said only safe businesses can be there. So that means you can have heavy manufacturing businesses sitting right next door to you, on top of you, underneath you, that currently can only exist inside of a manufacturing zone. We're talking about health hazards. We're talking about pollution. We're talking about environmental waste. Do you know what manufacturers do? They avoid constantly the disposal of toxic waste. This is the #1 complaint against manufacturers. Now they're going to reside inside of your residential building, throwing waste down the toilet bowl. Do you know what that's going to mean? The laboratories, did they tell you about the laboratories? They said only safe laboratories. That's not in the regulations. It says all laboratories. So the laboratories that require, I understand, the laboratories that filter out, that have toxic waste, they will now be inside of residential buildings, inside of your homes. And the last thing, when we're talking about home occupancy, we're not only just talking about apartment buildings, but we're talking about private homeowners. Private homeowners can now change and put a small business inside of a private home. And that small business was now affecting a whole entire residential block. Now you can have a small business here, a small business there, and they can be small businesses. That's the definition. It didn't say anything about, oh, you have to sit there and create. No, they said say, small business, 3 people, that's it. Say no to this, please.
Thank you for your testimony. I believe,
I think once, and then if you want, I'll wait, I'll be like.
yeah, we have some folks on Zoom. Are their hands are down? Over where? Yep.
Wait,
We-
I'm gonna make. that
Yeah,
ask.
there are a couple more people. There's someone over here,
Okay.
and then Mr. Brown, and then Mr. Camacho.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Can you hear me? Hear me? You sure? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm a tenant organizer with Brooklyn Housing Independent Project, BHIP. And so the reason why I am so passionate about this conversation is because of our lack of apartments, right? As it stands, we have already established that tenants who are currently have their own leases, they won't be able to take advantage of this. What would stop landlords from prioritizing families and people to rent and just straight give it to businesses, knowing that there are small businesses like influencers coming from other states interested in moving to New York because it's so trendy? Then the other question that I have is, what is it that, this doesn't sound like a city of yes. This sounds like a city of businesses. It sounds like New York is being proposed to become the next Milan. And as someone who's worked with and talked with tenants who have organized in Milan, Italy, it was really difficult for them to maintain their residential spaces. So I think one of the things that is so scary about this is that we know we're going to be losing a lot of residential spaces to businesses. On top of that, already, it's very difficult for people to be able to get loans to buy houses. This would make it easier for people to be prioritized in getting commercial loans from the city to getting houses and buying homes and condos versus over people. So my question again is like, what do you believe would be, would stop a landlord from prioritizing small businesses over families?
So specifically in that example, what would stop them would be the immense construction costs associated with converting a building that has, say, a residence on the second floor to one that could accommodate a business on the second floor because of some of the components that Lucia talked about, where you would require a separate entrance, a separate stairwell. It would have to be ADA compliant. A separate lobby. And I think that in and of itself is prohibitive for a sort of common business, a building owner who has tenants on the second floor. Of course, if those tenants are already sort of rent stabilized, you can't evict a tenant in order to do that construction. For new developments, you could build sort of pursuant to allow for a commercial use on the second story. But this is really not something where we would envision any sort of displacement of existing residents happening because of the sort of construction burden associated with that. To your second point, you were talking about this isn't City of Yes, it's City of Business. I think we would agree that this proposal, this sort of suite of proposals that we're here to talk about today it's City of Yes for economic opportunity. But we will be back in a few months to talk about City of Yes for housing opportunity, where we have a whole suite of actions that we're proposing in order to facilitate the development of more housing units for the city.
Before I go over here, then over there, and then over here, you haven't answered this young lady's question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
If you have a three-story building, there's a lot of three-story buildings. Is it not possible for the landlord who unregulated, most of them are unregulated tenants, to remove both the first floor and the second floor and convert the entire building into commercial?
That would be impossible. They could not convert the entire building of a three-story building to commercial.
No, not according to your regulations, because your regulations allows commercial on the ground floor, commercial on the first floor, and commercial on the second floor.
Not in an overlay district.
No, in an overlay district.
No, that's
yes. I saw it in the text amendments. Would you like to sit there and give me the exception to that? Because I saw it in the text amendments.
I'm sorry, it's not in the regulations that we're proposing. Thank you.
Hi, Dustin Sonneborn, CB4. I just want to say I've been on the board a couple of years. This is the first time I can remember of the city itself coming in. When I assume maybe not you guys, who schedule knows, don't have time to talk through anything other than what maybe we'd figure out at the table to give a recommendation for. It feels like a bad faith effort to come here and check a box. We talked. To me, this administration gets no benefit of the doubt. I haven't seen anything in the, year and a half, 2 years it's been. I'll be voting no on anything with this thing. I think there are good proposals in there. Some of them seem like no brainers. Just do it. I'll be voting no. Thank you.
I have Felix, then I got, I'm gonna call it.
Good evening, everyone. Felix Cevallo from CV4. The zoning proposal for me sound crazy because it's not respect a human being. It's not respect a residential area for human being anymore. Like a money business is most important because when we're talking about second floor and the need to and down, everything we're talking about commercial, that means business, money is most important. Thank you.
I got one. I got here, I'm sorry, I got here, and one over here. One here, and then one here, and then that should be it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Garcia. I'm the transportation planner with the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. I'm not a resident of Community Board 4. I live in Flatbush, Community Board 9. But on behalf of the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance, we hear what you all are saying. And while we know the board may have their recommendations, may take a vote, we are concerned about the oversight in the current proposals, particularly in the context of last mile warehouses and their impacts on communities of color and low income families. Although DCP's proposal introduces an initiative in the form of micro distribution facilities, we have a lot of concerns around those, especially how it falls short of addressing the significant land use conflicts stemming from the clustering of larger warehouses, or what we call last mile warehouses. And the proposal's focus on smaller facilities is crucial. We understand that, but it misses the larger facilities that operate around the clock and contribute substantially to congestion, safety risks, and environmental concerns. And to rectify this oversight, we urge the board to demand that DCP take a comprehensive approach and propose an expansion of the proposals to incorporate a specific text amendment redefining last mile warehouses as a distinct category and create a special permit process so that the community can decide whether they do or do not want a last mile warehouse in their neighborhood. Thank you so much.
James Stewart, Community Board 4. It's been stated a couple of times about the time or the lack of time in order to vet these proposals. And there's also been stated that this seems to be the MO across the city when it comes to dealing with proposals like this. How do we make it so that we can change the process of how we get these types of proposals and then vet? That's what I'm most interested in. That what can we do? I don't know if that comes from the council member or what, but
So I mean, I think, change is required at many levels and we're just one level. I can certainly defer to the councilwoman. But at least on our end, we have a fairly new engagement division at the Department of City Planning. We are learning a lot through this process. If you visit our website, you can click to nyc.gov/engage, I believe. And there should be opportunities to weigh in on things we could have done better through this process. We are listening, and I think, we certainly have heard a lot about the process and about the amount of time it takes to sort of digest a proposal of this magnitude. So thank you for that.
And we'll just wrap it. I just want to say a lot of the core issues today we've been focusing on regarding the restaurants and even rents and tenants and landlords is we as residents of Bushwick, we need to understand that we live in a community that's been historically red line, meaning that the banks only gave loans to Black and brown people to move into Bushwick. So now gentrification is the baby of redlining, to where you have outsiders who are not Black and Spanish coming in buying up. Now, the big concern with rent increase in any neighborhood is we have to own these properties. You can have a weed shop on every corner because Jacob in Williamsburg owns the building. Whoever, such and such, Resi, whoever owns their building. I feel that our focus should be on the landlord and the systemic core issue, which is if we want to really influence, we need to influence the policy that affects everyone here. But a lot of the angst happening is because the rents are increasing. But keep in mind, the core of that is because we live in a community we've been redlined into. And now gentrification, which is a convoluted word. However, you see others coming in, pushing you out. Property values are only going up because as you physically remove Black and Spanish people, the rents are going to go up. This is how it works. This is how it works in reality. So we need to be focused on the system and policy. And in regards to the restaurant weed spots, we need to focus on them landlords because the landlords don't live in this area. Is if we shift some of our focus to buying up and developing our own areas, you won't have this issue because they don't have this issue in Chinatown because the Chinese residents own their own real estate. So I just wanted to bring that clarity to their matter because a lot of the angst is towards zoning. However, we're living in the residual and you're just getting blowback on that. Thank you.
For to myself, anybody seen this before? Well, 10 years ago, Bushwick did his own community plan. And here comes our fearless mayor giving one of his to us. And we're supposed to say, yeah, we like it. If you believe that, you believe in March of the Wooden Soldiers. I'm telling you, this is serious. We had here, and the last mayor shot it down and said it was a down zone. We had people protesting here and disrespecting this community that don't even live here in regards to us wanting to do this proposal. And to this day now, 10 years later, 11 years later, all our houses, 2-3 family homes are gone. Our churches, you talk about businesses, whatever happened to our churches? Why can't we have a church? Everybody loves Jesus. Why we gotta smoke weed and drink beer? And legalize prostitution? Why? What happened to the youth programs that's on here? What happened to city-owned land right now that we got one senior building in 10 years, in 13 years. And we had 2 CBOs to get together to do it. All the boards, borough boards, I go to every borough board meeting I represent, Bushwick. All the borough boards, if you go on, don't want it. So I encourage council, you was voted in by our peers. You're here to represent us, to make sure that we get due process. And I think that our plan was good. And I don't know why y'all did something that I know has no teeth, none at all. There's no safeguard. Everything is gonna be whatever. You got rid of the marching orders. So now you do a club and all I gotta do is keep talking to that gentleman there and to please take care of the establishment because our people can't sleep and the mayor allows him because there's no marching orders constantly. So what we're doing, and then they blame this community board. You know, you guys get blamed. And who's the head? Me. I get blamed for everything that go on when they allow them to do this. So we really need to set the tone and say, no on this, come back and do ours. Don't throw it in our face. Oh, it's 700. A lawyer couldn't even read it. That proposal is 700 and something. How you know what's in there? They only gave you whatever you see there. There's 700 and something proposals. You need an attorney to sit down and read that whole thing with you and not line it. So I'm telling you now, if you want to keep living in Bushwick, I'm going to own my home. So I don't mind living next to all these big buildings. That'd be a little house. And I told my kid, if they turn around and sell their home, I'm going to make sure I put a homeless shelter right next to them because they don't want to live next to a homeless shelter. I'm serious. Y'all laughing. I'm serious. They really don't. Because it says they knocked down the property value. How is that even possible when we lived here, when none was here? When this place here was a lot. Now city planning wants to build with us. Where were you when we were having issues? Where were you when we wanted to do our job, not your job? That's what I want to know. And that's what I want you to tell them. And that's what I want you to tell all of them. Where were you when our Latinos and Blacks were dying? Where were you when we were crackheads and dope fiends? Come on, let's be realistic. And now you're making money and you're pushing us to the side. Come on, be realistic. My father said I wouldn't make it past 14. That's how bad I was. I'm going to be 63. You got to stop that, man. Whatever happened to veterans? A place for these veterans. We got people in Bushwick that are veterans that live here. We got one right there. And he's in the shelter. All right? 67 years old. In a shelter. A veteran that fought for this country. Come on. Where are we? What are we doing? What are we doing? So I encourage you to step up. I don't want to hear a stain. A stain is a no vote. A stain is a no vote. Everybody got to put their pants on one leg at a time, and the ladies got to put their dress. So we want everybody to step up, especially this community board, all you board members. All I hear is 2027, we're termed. All the old timers are termed out. All the old timers are turned up, but they're not talking about us, the people that made this place what it is to continue to be here. 2027, all the old timers are up. So you're going to see new people here that are paying $15,000, $20,000 rent, making decisions for you. So you need to go back and tell your mayor, why now? No teeth. It doesn't support the community. Where's the community support in that proposal? Where's the community aspect of it? So we really need you guys to make sure that you put checks and balances on it. Thank you. I'm sorry for taking up your time, but it's a passion. It's been 10 years. This was driven by us. It has affordable housing. It has senior places. It has jobs to create for our youth, to keep them off the street, to stop smoking the weed and get ready. We have, everything is in here. Read it. And it's not 700 pages. So please, and we work hard. A lot of these seniors that been here, the people that were on the board, we volunteered to do this. Our borough president on this. City council that was there before us helped us. So we really need to find out what is it that we want to do and want to let people come here and keep telling us what to do instead of them telling them what we want them to do. Thank you.
Now he comes here last on this vote.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So that concludes this public hearing item for this evening. We appreciate all the testimony. This is not the only time, as was emphasized over and over. Please continue to provide feedback. Please let us know, write to the board. Leave any paperwork you want to leave this evening. We welcome it all. We will now move on with our regular meeting agenda. Before we do so, board members, please, this is your time to go grab food. Board members only right now. Once the board members have grabbed some food, we will invite anyone else that's here to also help themselves. Board members also please sign in if you've yet to do so.
Okay. Yeah, and I will definitely find the land use. All right, everyone, not to rush folks, but it is already after 8 o'clock. We want to get you home. So board members, please be ready. We're going to move on with the agenda. If we can have some silence, please, folks. We want to get you out of here. We're going into our first roll call, starting with Isa Abney. Stephanie Anderson. Please pay attention, board members. If you do not say present, you will not be marked present. I see you, Isa. Stephanie Anderson, Joanna Bennett. Joanna Bennett. Joanna Bennett. Right there. Please confirm you're present. This is the roll call. Joshua Brown. Joshua Brown. Makiba Brown Elaine. Raul Brown. Robert Camacho. Melissa Carrera Solano. Felix Ceballos. Christian Celeste Tate. Andrew Choi. Alvina Davis. Present. Jasmine de Santiago Diaz. Cecilia Fabian. Freddie Fowler is excused. Joanna Fuentes. Christopher Graham. Ann Guiney. Ann Guiney. All right, if folks do not respond, I cannot mark you present. Zachary Hendrickson. Tanisha Honeygan. Present. Thank you, Tanisha. Barbara Jackson. Kaisha Johnson. Virgie Jones. Tara Jones Thomas. Luisa Jose. Nicholas Kaplan. Edward Kopp. Christine Malden. Raman Mama. Mary McClellan. Desmond Monroe. Zuma Navoa. Levi Ornstein Wolf. Caitlin Penner. Asire Polite has resigned. Raul Rubio. Eliseo Ruiz. Milagro Sandoval. Bernadina Shell. Barbara Smith. Maria Soler. Dustin Sonborn. Annette Spellin. James Stewart. Jessica Tiburcio. Ben Tucker. Jerry Valentine.
Present.
Tashana Wade.
Celeste, I was having trouble. It's Joanna Fuentes.
Thank you, Joanna. All right, I'm going to do the tally. As a reminder, only board members, thank you, Ann. Only board members that are in person count towards quorum. Twenty-nine board members present constitutes quorum. Thank you, everyone. Please sign in if you have not signed, and thank you, Cecilia, for confirming you're present. We will now move on with the second agenda item, acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion from the board? We need okay. Caitlin Penner made the motion. Melissa seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Agenda item number 3, acceptance of the previous meeting minutes. I was not able to review them in time. I would ask for a motion to table, please. Melissa makes a motion to table. Is there a second? Second, well, everybody's flying tonight. Caitlin Penner, second, all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? So moved. Agenda item number 4, the chairperson's report, Mr. Camacho.
Happy New Year's all, to all my beautiful people. I'm just want to let y'all know, I went to, the CEC meeting on December, 1st. On the presentation was, the School Construction Authority doing a presentation in regards to, the construction that's going on at across the street on Bushwick, 787 Bushwick Avenue. So there were some issues there that they took care of, and a briefing from the principal from PS 376 and also from PS 86. Other than that, everything was informational. December 23rd, I went to the A3 precinct NCO toy drive. They were driving around. Everybody chipped in money and we bought some toys for the kids and we drove around. I know y'all saw us in that cold giving kids Christmas toys. We went to each sector. There was 5 sectors. I gotta put it close. Hello, so you gotta talk loud. I'm gonna talk loud. Talk loud. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I gotta put it close. That's the only way it's gonna work if you put it. Hello. On December 28th at 11 o'clock, we had a meeting with the staff. January 3rd, I went to the enrichment center because they want to interview the director. We have someone from Bushwick Community Partners. Hi. I went there, we went to interview for the enrichment center that we had. There were 3 people interviewed. Maybe she'll speak about it later on and give us some info. We don't know who they took. And they're still looking for a place, correct? There you go, I got it. So far, so good. All right, that same day, we had the executive board meeting. Thursday the 6th, I also had the borough boards. There was no quorum. This presentation was there too. There was a lot of issues, and at the end, they wind up not voting because everyone left. So they didn't have a quorum to vote on the city of Yes. But by February 2nd is the borough boards. Hopefully, all the boards gonna get together. They're gonna be, I don't know why they called us down to vote on that. If each community board, every community board didn't participate in them for coming down. So I don't know what was that all about, but they came to us. So hopefully we can tell them the same thing at the borough boards. Also, January 5th at 11, we did a walk through the district with the council at 4 p.m. I went to the A3 precinct. We had 13 new rookies to introduce the community. Sunday, January 7th, I got on the Civil Engagement Commission in regards to the people's money. Tuesday, the 9th at 11 on Zoom. I also got on Zoom and went, I know some of you guys on to the City of Yes too. They did the same presentation and we got the same outcome. From 3 to 5, I was at a point there with the people's money. Celeste was with me too. At 6 p.m. That same day, a permits and license. January 10 at 10:30, the district cabinet. Thank you, city agencies. We had New York City Aging, Gotham, DOT, District 37 Councilwoman's staff, Parks Department, Congresswoman Nina Velasquez, staff. Thank you, Jonathan, DOE, District 34 Jennifer Gutierrez staff, Department of Health, Senator Salazar, staff was there, DOB and Brooklyn, Borough Library, Public Library, and also DSS. January 11th, that same day at 2:30, we was on a Zoom with both community boards, with Wolf Outport Super Site. They indicated that the bus, that there will be lighting. They said there will be lighting at the location for public safety. They said that the truck route was changed to go Irving to Moffett, and there will be only 3 trucks per day from 9 to 2. And my concern was them waiting there, the 3 trucks idling. So as you know, we don't want them trucks be idling, standing there, waiting to pick up stuff to drop off. So as soon as they get it, shut the truck off, pick up the stuff and get out. I just call it the hood. A lot of people don't want me to call it the hood, but I call it my neighborhood. So, I gotta be precise. January 12th, a meeting with, I met with a veteran. He's here. Say hi. He also encouraged me. It was wonderful. I went to see him at 832. I didn't even know we had 832 Knickerbocker. We had a men's shelter there. And I thought I was going to a meeting, so let's set it up. I walk in there and I see it's a shelter, and I see this young man coming up to me. He says, "Mr. Camacho." I says, "Hey." He sounds just like, I'm not gonna say because he don't want me to tell him who he sounds like. But I says, "Hey, yeah, we met." And he had a poem. And he read me a poem because he says that in his time, when he talks to his worker or his coach, that he felt something was wrong. So he made a poem. I hope you guys can give me a little time, please, for this gentleman can read this poem for me. He's a veteran. He's 67 years old. He lives in Bushwick, and we should be accommodating these veterans. So I want to give him the time. I hope the board allows me to, so he can read this poem to us. And when he read it to me, he also gave me a copy. So I want him to read it to you guys so you can see what kind of people we got in Bushwick.
He put me on the spot. I was not expecting this at all, sincerely.
Doesn't he sound like Denzel?
No, man, don't say that, brother. Come on. I'm my mother and father's son. I'm not Denzel's brother or twin. Hey, blessings to you all here. And the origin of this poem, and thank him for listening. And he came and supported me with an issue, and I had to sit down and we had to discuss something. And I appreciate his support. So it just so happened, I had to send some packages UPS in December, and the automation wasn't working. And I had to wait on hold, didn't mind it, and I had to get a human being to help me. And she was very sad, and she helped me with the packages and etc. And this poem is dedicated to women, and my mother happens to be a woman in spirit land right now. And it's called Do They Know the Burden? And when I hung up the phone, this poem came to me. And it's called Do They Know the Burden? You know, I'm not a psychic, but I wasn't liking the tone over the phone in her voice. I mean, she was a customer service rep, but yet I didn't know why she sounded so ungrounded at that moment. I mean, she still pleasantly as possible helped me, but after ending our call, all I could think of is the burden. So I wondered, hello. So I wondered, let me get back. So after ending our call, all I could think of is the burden. So I wondered, people really know the burden that a woman goes through. First, she's a daughter, a sister, a niece, a lover,
Mic check, mic check.
Jesse, you gotta go.
There you go. Okay, okay. All right, I'm gonna take it from the top because that's important. Very, very important. Dedicate this to women. Well, let me say this. See, things happen for a reason. It's called divine delay. And divine delay. And what it is we men have to step up because your wives, your daughters, the equal pay on jobs, they don't get the equal pay. They claim they're showing equal pay now, but even with bonuses and signing bonuses and Christmas bonuses, it's not equal. They still doing the electric slide. And I can't understand why any man would not want to pay a woman, his mother's a woman, the fair money, equal money as a man. And that's very important. So I'm going to do this again. Do they know the burden? You know, I'm not a psychic, but I wasn't liking the tone over the phone in her voice. I mean, she was a customer service rep, and yet I didn't know why she sounded so ungrounded at that moment. I mean, she still pleasantly as possible helped me, but after ending our call, all I could think of is the burden. So I wondered, do people really know the burden that a woman goes through? Where she's a daughter, a sister, a niece, a aunt, a lover, a wife, a mother, a friend, the load of the burden, but at the same time being suppressed by a man unkind and not allowing a woman to find respected footing in a systemic world. But yet a woman will carry on. Yes, they do. And they will carry on with that faith and they will stay true. So do people know the burden? You need to know this for certain. A woman has incredible spiritual strength. So, woman, stay grounded and keep your faith.
Thank you, Earl. May I say something?
May I say something? Oh, okay. Now, have any of you all called the office over their office, you know, 8400? You don't have to answer like yes, but many of us have made calls over there. Well, he put me on the spot, but Celeste has a poem. Celeste over there has a poem that she read to me over the phone last week. And this shows the dedication, as I was saying, to Mr. Camacho and the young man, the other young man. Sir, please forgive me. Desmond. Celeste has a poem that is so incredible about how her heart is into what she does. So Celeste, will you do the slow motion and read this for the people, please? It is incredible. When we call. And this poem, I said, what? So here, it's incredible. So there you go.
Tell Celeste, they put you on the spot, see?
Yeah, it seems like a string of putting people on the spot tonight. So if the board would like me to read the poem, I got a few yeses here, so let me just pull it up. All right, so this is called Good Stuff. Maybe we're just the good stuff because we have to sit with all the difficult things, trying to find ways to understand, contextualize, explain reality. My brain works differently as we're thinking these huge systems full of issues, dysfunction, rousing frustration, except it's our job to help, to do something better, endeavor to make it better, even when the emotional labor transmutes into desensitized exhaustion. There is a limit, even when we attempt to defy it. People that somehow seek chaos and attempt to define it. What is it if not something lost? Unstewarded quandaries, vagaries, aka opportunities, silver lining inflected speech, public service, the endless path to rude awakenings, except we're conduits for some semblance of sense, adrift in shared humanity. Nuances are language of limited diffusion, adapting in the iterative mundanity. There's really no other place I'd rather be, except on the front lines, in the eye between alchemy and the city's dreams.
Now I'm gonna finish my report. After we done Saturday, between 9 and 3, I went to the Ujima. They had a youth with kids summit at 422 Central. Tuesday, the 16th, a meeting with Congresswoman Nita Velasquez. It was a snow day at 40 Irving. She had Pace University, SB Small Business District Center from Pace coming out. We want, right, at D, as, right, and they, the people that service in the area in Bushwick. So we're gonna take advantage of that. You're gonna send us some stuff, and we're gonna give it out to everybody that has a business or wants to do a business and want to try to get funding free. If it's free, you know it's for me, right? So there were a couple of people in the community board, in the community that took advantage of that. Just like a young lady that has a candle place on Stewart. Is it Stewart? Yes, Stewart. And what, Wakuko, yeah, whatever you call it. Good food, man. Good food. Good food. So I went there to them, and that is, wait. Oh, and then I went to the new senior building that at San Nicolas Alliance. Oh, and Los Zules and San Nicolas Alliance, right? No, Los Zules and Cove. I'm sorry, Los Zules and Cove, but we had the Zules there. Cove wasn't there, but we gonna make sure he be there because we want to thank him because there were issues between them two CBOs, and they took care of the problem. Robert Solano indicated that he gave up a portion because they're not into construction to them to build, and they did a wonderful job, and he wasn't there at the site, but I'm gonna make sure he be there at the ribbon cutting, because if he has 20% of something, he got something. So we want to make sure that we let him know that we want to thank him too for bringing, you should see that building. Whoever's gonna live in there is beautiful, beautiful. With me and Guiney and Celeste went there, I'm telling you, it's awesome. I think the thing should be up this month for registration, so we've got to get everybody in Bushwick, because remember, the Zules is in the south side, so we want to get everybody from Bushwick in them apartments. Not that I don't want them, but we could give them a little bit, but we can't give them more. So I even told them that. I said, we want a lot of people from Bushwick to come into this, because this is in Bushwick, so thank you.
It's on Montier Street, yeah.
Yeah, Montier.
I forget the exact address.
10
Montier.
10 Montier.
All right, that concludes Mr. Camacho's report. Are there any questions for Mr. Camacho? Once, going twice. All right, we'll move on. Elected official representatives, if you are a person, please come to the front. Name and contact information only. If you are on Zoom, please raise your hand. Elected official reps or elected officials. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Good evening. I'll keep it short because I know we are getting very late. Councilmember Sandy Nurse, I just wanted to, in light of the presentation today, just reiterate, no matter what you vote today, I really encourage you all to take your time and send us recommendations. It doesn't have to be a formal essay, like we got problems with these specific points. Please send them to me so that we can advocate on behalf and push back and try to get some of this stuff changed. As I mentioned, many community boards are giving this level of pushback. And so this isn't just unique to what you all are feeling. This is felt across the city. So please help us. Yes. Celeste definitely has my email. We talk very often. I call the two of them often with all sorts of stuff. So please send your amendments or hard lines, things that are hard nosed. Anything you like, you don't need to spend time on it. If you like it, we don't need to spend time on it. If you don't like it, send it to us and we will make sure to keep you abreast of hearings in a timely fashion. We'd love for you to come virtually testify and send letters so that, you all have your voices raised. I don't know what's being said, but
Thank you. Juan on Zoom? Please,
Hey, everyone.
one meeting.
Hey everyone, Juan Mayanzada here, community organizer for Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez. You could contact me at 718-963-3141. Thank you. It's just intros, right? No announcements?
This address, the office, what's the address?
The office is at 244 Union Avenue, Brooklyn. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have some folks in person. Please come to the front.
Hi, everyone. Lacey Tauber, Brooklyn Borough President's Office, 718-802-3894, Brooklyn Borough Hall, 209 Joralemon.
Good evening, Jonathan Betancourt from Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez's office. Our office phone number is 718-599-3658. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Maria Valdez from the State Senator Julia Salazar, 718-573-1726, and we're located at 212 Evergreen. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Any community-based organizations or agency representatives here this evening? Name and contact info, please. Come up to the front if you're here in person. Raise your hand if you are participating via Zoom. CBOs and agencies.
Good evening, everyone. Cynthia Peña Ortiz, Program Director of the Bushwick Community Partnership, located at the Coalition for Hispanic Family Services. Hold on. We're located at 313 Wyckoff, and my cell phone number, or my phone number that I don't know by the top of my head, is 718-497-6090. Thank you.
All right, we have a couple other folks here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'll keep it quick. David DeRoe, Human Rights. Chapel Street on the 10th floor. You can always reach us at by calling 311. Call us at 718-354. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Nieves. I'm coming from Wyckoff Hospital at 1610 DeKalb location, which they offer a multitude of services, but specifically around HIV prevention and treatment. My direct number is 718-508-4609. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, everyone. We will keep moving. Oh, we have a hand. I can't see whose name it is. Go ahead with your hand raised.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Yvette Lopez. I'm the Communications Director for Assemblywoman Marta Davila. We are located at 249 Wilson Avenue in Brooklyn and can be reached at 718-443-1205. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvette. I see a couple other hands. Go
Hi.
ahead, Adam. Go,
Hi,
Adam, and then we'll keep going. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Adam from DSNY Community Affairs. My phone number is 212-291-1220. Once again, 212-291-1220. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see names for who's next. Noel, go ahead, Noel.
Hi, this is Noel Elaine from the Bushwick Star Theater. We will be at 419 Eldert Street in Bushwick, and my phone number is 917-620-8546 if you need to reach me. Thank you.
And Jessica.
Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you was talking to me. Good evening. My name is Jessica Mackey Jean. I am the CEC 32 Vice President. My number is 917-826-2464.
Thank you. Oh, we have two more. I see. Oh, Flaco. Go ahead, Flaco.
Hi, my name is Modesto Flaco Jimenez, OJ Group Artistic Director, Bushwick Star Community Programmer. You can reach me at 347-549-3432.
Flaco, ¿qué pasa?
Ya tú sabes, viéndote a ti activo y calmado. Nice. Keep it that way.
Thank you both. Who's last? Tiara, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Tiara Robertson, Bridge Street Development Corporation. We're located in Bed-Stuy. My direct number is 347-255-5258, and I can leave my email. It's just trobertson@bsdcorp.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everyone? All right. We appreciate you all being here. We will now move on to the 83rd precinct. Is there anyone from, I know they were here earlier. If they're not here now, we thank them for being here earlier. We will keep moving on. Next is the district manager's report. My New Year gift to you all is foregoing my report so we can keep moving on. You're welcome. All right, committee reports, get ready. Permits and licenses, Melissa.
You gotta talk loud like me, see?
All right, I think this one's working. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, Melissa Carrera Solano, PLC Chairperson. We held our Permits and License Committee meeting on Tuesday, January 9th at 6 p.m. I want to thank everyone in attendance. It was our first meeting of the year, my first meeting back. So I'll try to be brief. We did have a number of applications for state liquor license application review. The first was Marie's NYC Dining LLC, located at 195 Wyckoff Avenue between the corner of Harmon and Himrod Street, looking for a full liquor license. It was a restaurant, and their intended sales of alcohol hours were Monday through Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. The applicant confirmed that their location does have outdoor seating falls within their property line and has agreed to amend the hours till 10 p.m. within our stipulation. And we also did remind them to submit their amended hours based on our stipulations, which the establishment owners were amendable to at the time of the meeting. And I want to confirm we did receive that update, I believe, during the meeting. Next up, we had Huge LLC, located at 159B Central Avenue, looking for a full liquor license. This is at the corner of Sudam Street and Central Avenue. Establishment type is a restaurant. The applicant has experience being the beverage director for Nighthawk Cinema in Williamsburg. This was a couple that came forward. They are taking over the former restaurant known as Le Garage. And there were some concerns from committee members in regards to the SLA's 200-foot rule. As most of you know, within the 200-foot rule, you cannot serve alcohol from a school, a church, synagogue, or a place of worship. So the applicant did confirm that they did receive clearance from SLA, and they provided that proof information to us during the meeting. Their intended sale of alcohol hours are Monday will be closed, Tuesday through Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., Thursday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Their outdoor spaces they had here were Tuesdays through Friday from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., Saturday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Again, we reminded this establishment and the applicants that their hours of operation fall outside of our committee's intended stipulated hours of Sunday through Thursday until 12 a.m. and the outdoor spaces to be closed by 10 p.m. all days. They did confirm that they're willing to work with the community and will be amending their hours based off the information above. And we did receive their updated information, and they are aware of the amendments that were due before the meeting today, and confirming we did receive that as well. Then we did have lastly, Xavier's Venue LLC located at 313 Grove Street, also looking for a full liquor license. They are located on the corner of Myrtle Avenue and Grove Street. This is a catering hall. They have already been operating their business catering to Sweet 16s, community events, and now they're looking to include a liquor license to, increase revenue. The committee members did express concerns as this is on the ground floor of a residential building and there's an elementary school located at the other end of the block. We also did request proof that this is, further than 500 feet from the school, and the applicant has not submitted the findings. Just want to confirm we did not receive those findings with Kim. Did we receive the findings for? We did? We did. Okay. So we did receive those findings, and the applicant confirmed that they will be solely operating the liquor license during the scheduled events and will not be allowing third-party promoters to access and operating with this license. That was very important to us. And their sales of alcohol hours are as follows. Monday through Wednesdays will be closed. So they only will be operating Thursday through Sunday from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. with the stipulation of, Sundays till 12 a.m. The attorney did confirm they will be amending their hours of operation for Thursday and Sunday, provide the findings with the State Liquor Authority, which they did. And that sums up the 3 licenses that came forward for liquor. All right, and next up, we have the state cannabis retail license application review. First up, we had DeKalb CMM LLC, Uncle Nick's, located at 1444 DeKalb Avenue, applying for an adult use retail dispensary located between Knickerbocker Ave and Wilson Avenue. And the establishment is owned by a family with deep roots in Brooklyn, former business owners, and they have restaurants throughout Clinton Hill. The applicant confirmed they're operating as a social equity applicant, and they're looking to venture into the cannabis industry here in Bushwick. And their intended sales of cannabis hours are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. all days. Next up, we had At the Factory LLC, located at 424 Troutman Street, applying for an adult use retail dispensary license. This is located between St. Nicholas Avenue and Wyckoff Avenue. This applicant is the Bushwick Native founder and CEO, who has a long history in the community. He has operated the Bushwick Collective event and initiated and participated in many events. The applicant intends to have security measures such as a security guard, cameras in place, ID verification to prevent underage individuals from accessing products. And we also did welcome all of the applicants that came forward to join us during the meeting today. Their intended sales of cannabis hours are Monday through Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m., and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. We did inform the applicants that their operation hours must be amended to 70 hours per week to reflect the OCM's rules, and they would have to resubmit their hours to reflect the 70 hours, Sunday through Thursday until 10 p.m. and Friday through Saturday until 12 a.m. The applicant is willing to work with the community and agreed to amend the information, and will be submitting those amendments as of 1/11. The office has not received an updated information. Applicants and attorneys are aware that they were due yesterday by 5 p.m. Kim, did we receive anything? We did. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we did receive amended hours for this application. And lastly, we had Evergreen Convenience LLC located at 562 Evergreen, looking for an adult use retail dispensary. They're located on the corner of Evergreen Avenue and Putnam Avenue. And the applicant informed us that they are a card holder. This applicant was a mess. They started off saying they were a card holder looking to open up an establishment while also offering an education component to the community. They did not have the card number to provide for us. And also we have been receiving a number of complaints from this establishment as operating as an illegal weed shop already. I have personally walked this route almost every day, and they are operating illegally, selling cannabis. Mr. Camacho as well expressed the concerns that they came forward to our committee being, dishonest with the information and asking for our support while they have already been running an illegal shop. And we also asked them to submit proof of the community notice posting, which I don't believe we received by the district office. We also did welcome them to come to the meeting today. Their hours were as follows: Sunday through Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Thursday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. We did remind them of the amendment to the 70 hours per week as per the OCM's regulations, but we have not heard from them. And I think that just goes to show that their dishonest application and presentation to the committee, possibly fell through, and one of the many illegal weed shops that we've seen here in CB4 and who are really part of the problem. And we didn't have any committee mail review. We did have some old business that we did discuss, so I'll be brief. The CB4 waiver process. We talked a little bit about how we're approaching renewal applicants and also how we're going to continue to move forward with providing a 30-day waiver. We will continue to only provide them for renewal applicants only. And then we also discussed the municipal process regarding OCM's Cannabis Growers Showcase. And if you want more information, please find the link in my report. And we also confirmed that these requests will be reviewed on a committee level to provide CB4 documentation and a letter of support. We also discussed the CB4 retail license questionnaire, which Mr. Edward Kopp from our committee provided more information based off of the findings on OCM's website that we will be reviewing and finalizing for our February meeting. And then we also discussed our liquor license application form that was updated, and we made some updates that we'll be using moving forward when we send the documentation for establishments to be filling out. And then we also went over our CB4 liquor license stipulation sheets. There were some amendments that we were trying to make. For Section 4, we agreed that the committee could not, for Section 4, the committee could not come to an agreement regarding the stipulated hours, and we will revisit this in February's PLC meeting. Celeste and I have spoken since that meeting, and I think we found some middle ground that will really meet the needs and the concerns of, most of us here living in Bushwick, especially with the most saturated areas in the district. And then Section 14, the committee confirmed the question will be included. The Section 14, we confirmed that this question will be included in our updated stip sheet once it's finalized. And I believe that sums up my report. That was a lot. If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, we have a question from Joanna, and just a reminder, this part of the meeting is for board members only. So board members only at this time.
Hear me now? I don't know if this. On the LLC on Central Avenue, and he said that the SLA.
No. Let me provide some clarity. So there's a 200-foot rule for any establishment applying for a liquor license that if you have an establishment from entry point to place of worship, church or school, if it's within 200 feet, you cannot sell alcohol. We have readings from the SLA and findings confirming that in fact they are over 200 feet because that was our primary concern with them, and they were able to provide us the information so they can actually, have the license. Someone has already been operating there as well. Yeah. Thank you. That was a good question.
But as the one in Evergreen, the one in Evergreen and Grove in the corner is less than 100 feet because it's right across the street from the Baptist church. Yes, for the cannabis, and there's the school 299 right next on Woodbine. So he's for the cannabis, he's not, and he's operating there illegal. So he came over for he came over for a license when he was operating illegal anyway.
Zuma on Zoom has a question.
No, thank you. Actually, Camacho I actually just read my mind because I was wondering about that. I think it's PS 299. That is one block away from that establishment, 562 Evergreen. So I didn't know what was the rules for that. And that's just another thing. Where are they getting their weed supply? Honestly, who are the distributor? And I'm just going to mute myself.
So they're in a legal location right now, Zuma. So we don't know where they're getting their products from because they're illegal. But when they are a licensed establishment, they have to have clear information on where they're getting state-grown products from. We have a question from another board member in person.
Thank you. I'm trying to lower my hand. Thank you.
On that particular cannabis store on Evergreen and Grove, I believe, right Kitty Cat corner from there. Ironically, this is my neighborhood, guys. There was a store literally next to them on the other corner that belonged to a family that would have that store for many, many years. My kid store, and obviously they got pushed out of Bushwick. They moved out. So that store that we're talking about came out. And it belongs actually to the store that is on the other corner on Menahan and Evergreen. They're related. Now, the store in the corner where the kids' school is, I don't think it's working out anymore. I think it's closed out. The reasoning, this is what I was talking about earlier. Maybe everything should go to a red district zone or something. Because this particular store that we're talking about, they had chips, they had lights. It was a disco in there. And the school is literally across. So what are the kids are going to do? Automatically, I'm going to go to the store if I'm a kid because it looks funny, it looks great. I'm going to go get candy because they did have candy and they got chips. So, and when you go in there, it's all cannabis. I don't even want to send my kids to the stores anymore because it's like, oh, shoot, my kid is 15. I'm like, oh, yeah, weed everywhere. And I'm not saying I'm totally against cannabis. I'm pro-cannabis. The whole thing is that it's all areas. I've been in Amsterdam before with my kids and without my kids. If I'm in the red district, I'm in the red district. If I'm not in the red district, I'm in a residential district and there's no cannabis nowhere. So I think this is definitely something that needs to be addressed in our community.
Thank you for those concerns. And just to speak to that, Celeste and I are working on having an informational webinar with OCM to speak to the concerns, but also to talk a little bit more about the process and what the community board can actually do, and, you know, as our advisory role. I don't know which one's working.
I'll be just quick, just to update, and there's been new laws on this, so I don't know if everyone is aware. But the sheriff has jurisdiction right now. So if anything is within near a school, give us the addresses, we'll communicate that to the sheriff. Additionally, all police precincts have the authority to confiscate and take illegal cannabis. So you should be reporting that to the precincts. And if you don't hear back, let us know. Additionally, if you are a building owner, own property, and you are made aware, sorry, I'm out of breath for some reason. You're made aware that there is illegal cannabis sales in your property, it is your responsibility to evict them. Those are laws that just passed in the last 9 months. So there is jurisdiction here. There are options here. We don't have to just be, you know, in limbo about it.
Thank you.
With the microphone, please.
To follow, this is Edward Cox, follow up on council member nurses. Feedback. So OCM, also Office of Cannabis Management, has a spot on their website where you can report these locations. I've been working on learning more about the cannabis compliance side and understanding what's happening with the OCM. In the last month, they have started enforcement that there have been unmarked white vans with guys in khakis and polo shirts with OCM enforcement backed up by NYPD. It is there, but you have to continually report these locations. Because it one person, they're going to ignore it. One time, they're going to ignore it. You have to get all your neighbors and get everybody to complain, just like the 311.
All right, seeing no other hands, no other comments, we will move on to the district office report. Mr. Camacho, would you like me to summarize? Yes, this is only for board members right now, as the regular meeting. The public hearing is for the public. We will move on to the district office committee report. There was a meeting on Thursday, January 11th. Mr. Camacho, the committee chair, chose to call this earlier just because there was a matter of board member attendance to review. There was an overview provided on whose attendance improved. Thank you to all the board members who received letters that indicated that they intend to remain on the board. One meeting, please. One meeting. Thank you, everyone. There were some board members whose attendance is partially improved. Mr. Camacho committed to reaching out to those board members. And then there were some board members whose attendance did not improve. I was asked to make phone calls to all of those board members. And then there was also the subject of Ms. McClellan, who, as we all know, her health has not allowed her to participate in these meetings. I will be speaking with her as well to see if she would consider resignation if she's no longer able to serve on the board. So that way the board won't have to take a, punitive action such as removal. At the end of the meeting, there were only 2 board members who have never attended a meeting that were recommended for removal, in addition to another longtime board member. Christopher Graham was also recommended for removal. When we get to that portion of the meeting, each board member that was recommended will have an opportunity to speak and to indicate their intentions. They only received the recommendation if they were sent a letter and they did not indicate their intentions and the attendance did not improve. This is not something the committee takes any joy in. No one wants to recommend anyone's removal. We certainly understand that there are a lot of things going on. We want to work with board members. We also want you to take care of yourselves first. We know it's very challenging. As you may have heard earlier, Asaya Polite, who's been on the board for more than several years now, had to make the very difficult decision to resign because there's a lot going on, although indicated that she's interested in coming back at a time where it may be easier for her to serve on the board. So we absolutely acknowledge all of those things. After board member attendance, I was able to provide some brief updates in terms of what's going on in the office. I'm just going to summarize the subjects. You can always read the report for a little bit more information. We are in a physical office. There are issues with things within that office that may include the bathroom, the ceiling, the parking, the hybrid meeting equipment that we use, our purchasing. All details are available. During this meeting, I will also just point out, we were using new technology. We now have drop mics in the office to make it a little bit easier. We noticed that the mics with the buttons were challenging for folks that were in the meetings. So we have drop mics that apparently were not working for half the meeting. We had to troubleshoot to make sure that they were working. Thankfully, our vendor was available to provide assistance, and I was able to understand what he was saying so that way I could fix the issue and we could continue with our meeting and have the recording available to the public. And then we talked a little bit about term limits, some potential projects that may be coming up for the board members to get involved in, to be more involved in what that process may look like. And then we talked a little bit about the staff roles and responsibilities are being reviewed. Administrative burden, as you've heard again this evening, the office is now responsible for facilitating the cannabis retail application review. In addition to a lot of the other tasks that you may not see behind the scenes, I make sure I articulate this to Mr. Camacho, to the executive board and the district office committee. And we certainly thank the board members. For example, Ms. Bennett, who came when we were short-staffed one day to help with the phones, and Barbara Jackson, who's done so in the past. Every board member that's been there and that's provided that support, we appreciate you. We also talked a little bit about training, union increases, and a potential intern opportunity. And just some reminders about meetings. We know there are new board members that may not know. All meeting details are available on the board's website calendar. This is in advance. All of the links are included to register for Zoom. All of the meetings are in person, either at the board's office if it's a committee, or in this location for the full board. And then the information is also available in the e-newsletters. Please join those lists and please review the information. If you are concerned about anything on an agenda, you can always reach out to the office. We also discussed recent events and the public hearing and regular meeting backlog. Thank you. That concludes this report. All right, we'll move on now to if there are no questions, going once, going twice. All right. We will move on now to recommendations, starting with permits and licenses.
All right, here I go again. Recommendations. So first off, we have recommendations for the liquor license applications. First recommendation is motion to vote in approval for the establishment Marie's NYC Dining LLC located at 195 Wyckoff Avenue. Full liquor license with the hours stated above and recognitions of stipulations in place. And next off, we have a recommendation for a motion to approve for Huge LLC located at 159B Central Avenue. Looking for a full liquor license with the amended hours of Sunday through Thursday until 12 a.m. and Friday through Saturday until 2 a.m., as well as outdoor spaces closing by 10 p.m. all days. And also amended to have the French doors closing hours to 10 p.m. with recognition of stipulations in place. And then we have third, a motion to vote in approval for Xavier's Venue LLC located at 313 Grove. Full liquor license with the amended closing hours of Sunday through Thursday until 12 a.m. and Friday through Saturday until 2 a.m. and proof of the SLA's findings, which was referenced during my report.
Okay. Is there a motion for a blanket vote for these recommendations? Zach Hendrickson, vote. Felix Ceballos seconds. Is this for a blanket vote? Yeah, so all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? So move for the blanket. Is there a motion for the recommendation? Zach Henderson, motion in favor. Is there a second? Second, Caitlin Penner, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, one moment. Raul Rubio, okay, Elvina Davis.
Raul.
I have two, Raul and Elvina. Anyone else abstained?
Ms.
Joanna
Bennett.
Bennett, okay, thank you. All right. So moved.
All right, next up, we have recommendations for the adult use retail dispensary. I would suggest that we do them individually. The first one is motion to vote in approval of the establishment of DeKalb CMM Uncle Nick's located at 1444 DeKalb Avenue with the hours stated in the report and referencing our notes during my report. Does anyone make?
Motion from Edward Cup. Is there a second? Second by Desmond Monroe. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ms. Davis? Any other abstentions? Joanna Bennett, just say your name, please. I'm taking notes. Thank you. Any other? Elvina and Raul Rubio, thank you. Elvina, Joanna, and Raul, anyone else? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a motion to vote in approval for the establishment at the Factory LLC located at 424 Troutman Street for the adult use retail dispensary with amended closing hours to reflect Sunday through Thursday until 10 p.m. and Friday through Saturday until 12 a.m. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Edward Cup motion. Felix Ceballos seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Same folks, Elvina, Joanna, and Raul. Anyone else? Yep, Elvina, Joanna, and Raul. Okay.
All right.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Lastly, we have a motion to vote not in favor of the establishment Evergreen Convenience, 562 Evergreen for an adult use retail dispensary due to illegal business operations, but with stipulations of hours to reflect Sunday through Thursday until 10 p.m. and Friday through Saturday until 12 a.m. So this is a no vote. We're not voting in favor, but we are including our stipulations in the recommendation.
Just a point of information, what was the reasoning again for disapproval?
Due to illegal business operation
Less than 100 feet.
and less
Less
than
than
200 feet,
He's
no
right across the
proof
street from the
from
school.
LA.
So, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Illegal
I would
activity
say the school,
and,
yeah.
and the distance as
school
well.
And the illegal, yeah, I would say that that's enough for them to not approve it, but.
Yeah.
Why to include steps? If I may just suggest that if it's not already included in the recommendation, you specifically, the committee or the recommendation reference the 200-foot and the illegal.
Let's
Is
include it. It's
included?
not, no, it's in the notes, but not in the.
I would
in the
suggest that the recommendation include the reason that the disapproval is those
Yes.
two things. Just a-
Yeah.
200.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Okay.
500.
500 for school.
Okay, Raul Rubio, seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved unanimously. All right. I believe that's it. All right, that's it. That's it for permits and licenses. We're going to move on to district office now. So district office, there was a recommendation for the removal of 2 board members that have not participated in any meetings. One moment, please, so I can find their names. Levi Orenstein Wolf and Jasmine de Santiago Diaz. Are either Levi and Jasmine here this evening to let us know their intentions or otherwise speak? They are not. Is there a motion for this recommendation to remove these 2 board members? Joanna Bennett makes a recommendation. Andrew Choi seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. And the second item, just a point of information that was updated. Originally, there was another board member that was included in the report. The report will be amended. Bernardina Shell was also flagged as no response and no improvement. However, she was at the December meeting, so that will be updated to reflect partial improvement. The only board member that remains would be Christopher Graham. Chris, did you want to, if you're here, would you like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. Christopher Graham, CB4. I have been at the meetings. If you all recall, we just recently started coming back in person. So I have been on the Zoom calls, and sometimes when you are on the Zoom call, you're not always heard. And so as a result of that, because of stipulations and how things are done, I'm recorded as absent. But I have been in the meetings, and my intentions is to continue to serve the community. And if you will have me, I would please like to stay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Board members. Mr.
Make a
Camacho?
recommendation to keep them on the board and make sure that,
All right. Recommendation made by Mr. Camacho to keep Mr. Graham on the board. It was seconded by Luisa first. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you. And now we'll move on to housing and land use. Anne, if you'd like to say a few words before the recommendation, a few.
Yeah, this is old business, Mr. The walkthrough of the senior housing at 10 Monte Street. Not always a lot of great news coming out of the Housing and Land Use Committee. This is amazing news. Long-term board members will recall that very difficult vote for the Rheingold rezoning we took the summer of 2011, 2012 at Audrey Johnson. Brutal, and then we promptly felt quite rightly that we got betrayed by the developer who sold it and then broke the handshake deal of community benefits agreement. This is the one bright spot. And for years, it didn't look like anything was happening. It is beautiful. There are 100+ units of senior housing. It is fully affordable at AMIs that we can all get behind, and a bit of tiny poetic justice. It is right in front of the luxury market rate, and that building, those seniors are going to have better views than anyone who's paying $5,000 a month. So opening up soon and we got to get our folks in there.
you can't get 10, you could only do one. Because if you put it on 10, they'll spit it out. You won't get it. They'll eliminate her. So it's only one. Connect.
Yes.
To Housing Connect.
Housing Connect.
Yeah.
Okay, so technically, we're still in recommendations.
He said housing corrupt. No, not corrupt. Housing Connect.
We're still technically in recommendations, folks. So we have to go back to permits and licenses really quick, just as it relates to our public hearing. Melissa?
I'm sorry, y'all. So we all heard from Moonrise during our public hearing items, and we should put a recommendation forward as they are going for their renewal application. And I believe after everything that we've heard and a lot of the back and forth and the concerns from the neighbors, that we should vote no, not in support of this establishment. And, you know, a no with also follow-up with Celeste in the committee, with including the testimony, just for all of the concerns, the quality of life issues, the health issues that, you know, have been presented to us over the last couple of years that they have been operating. Unfortunately, I do agree this is not just a one establishment issue. And I look forward to having the conversation with the committee in February about how we want to continue the conversation and address this with the entire block of establishments that are, you know, under one landlord at 1329 Willoughby. So the recommendation would be to vote not in support of their renewal, including testimonies from today's meeting.
I second that recommendation.
Okay, so Melissa made the recommendation. We need a motion on the recommendation first.
Oh, I make a motion.
Okay, so Mr. Camacho makes the motion. Is there a second? Barbara Jackson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you. And now housing and land use in regards to the city. What? They're not that problematic. I mean, it's up to the board. So there's a question on the floor about the second establishment. Context was provided earlier that this was the first time they've received any complaints, and it seems as though they are already addressing those complaints. It is up to the board if you'd like to make a recommendation, although none is required.
I don't believe we need to provide a recommendation for this establishment.
Okay.
I second that, yes.
All right. So we will just move on to the second item on the public hearing agenda, which was the City of Yes zoning for economic opportunity presentation. Is there a recommendation from the board?
Yes, I got a big one. And I want, and I know Celeste is gonna get mad at me. You know why? Because she's the one that gotta write the letter. I say no with all the stuff that was on there. Celeste, you have to write the letter.
So, oh, okay. So Mr. Camacho made the recommendation. Josh, you want to make the motion? And then we have a motion for the recommendation Mr. Camacho made.
Is that,
We have a hand raised. With the mic, please.
I just want to suggest that we vote on each of the 18 recommendations individually. Somebody say 9 PM? I want to suggest we vote on each of the 18 individually and then vote on them as a whole. Like our council member said, part of what we're here to do is provide specific feedback. And unfortunately, I think that's the best way to do so. So I support your ultimate decision, Mr. Camacho, but I think we got to do it the hard way.
it's not my decision, it's
One-
the board's decision.
Yeah, so
There's another
so there's a second. So all in favor, there's a motion, there's a second. All in favor? Any opposed to voting on each of the 18 proposals? Okay, so we have to finish this vote first because there's a motion and a second.
there was a motion in a second, so we gotta make the tally.
If you are, well, we already have it on the floor. We can't.
Yeah, it's already on the floor. You
So parliamentary procedure dictates we have to finish the
You have to
vote.
finish the vote.
Who is opposed to voting on all 18 proposals right now? Just
Wow.
give me one. Can we do the roll call for the vote?
Yes.
Because this is going to be a little bit complicated. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, please, thank you, Mr. Camacho. So if you are opposed to voting on all 18 proposals right now, I'm going to read your name. Please indicate if you are opposed. Isa Abney, Stephanie Anderson, Joanna Bennett, Joshua Brown, Makiba Brown, Raul Brown, Robert Camacho, Melissa Carrera Solano, Felix Ceballos, Christian C. Tate, Andrew Choi, Elvina Davis.
Opposed.
You just voted.
Yeah, Elvina Davis.
Opposed.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Elvina, there was some noise here. Jasmine de Santiago Diaz, Cecilia Fabian, Joanna Fuentes.
Opposed.
Christopher Graham, Ann Guiney, Zachary Hendrickson, Barbara Jackson, Tanisha Honeygan.
I have a question really quickly. When you say
This is
that, are
just,
we?
this is you just opposed or in favor?
Yes or no?
No, I know what you're saying, but I don't understand what I'm like opposing or in favor
So
of. Or
it's,
is this
if
to
you,
vote on
if you
it
would like to
separately?
vote on all 18 proposals under the City of Yes individually.
Oh, individually, yeah, oppose.
Okay, thank you. Taisha Johnson, Virgie Jones, Tara Jones Thomas, Luisa Jose, Nicholas Kaplan, Edward Kopp, Christine Malden, Raman Mama, Mary McClellan, Desmond Monroe, Zuma Navoa,
Opposed.
Caitlin Penner, Raul Rubio, Eliseo Ruiz, Milagros Sandoval, Bernardina Shell, Maria Soler, Dustin Sonborn, Barbara Smith, I'm sorry, I got you, Dustin. Annette Spellin, James Stewart, Jessica Tiburcio. What's that? Ben Tucker, Jerry Valentine,
Oppose.
Tashana Wade. I think the nays have it. The nays have it. This motion does not carry.
He also voted on the motion. He also voted on the motion.
Okay, if I may make a suggestion, if I may make a suggestion, I know some folks have some commentary, but perhaps after the committee is able to digest some of tonight's presentation and provide additional information during next month's meeting, then the board may feel more equipped to do the 18 proposal vote. Does that make sense to folks? Okay, I see Ann, then Zach, then Caitlin, and then we'll keep going on a stack. But Ann, go ahead.
And I would make a proposal that we actually separated out roughly into, break it down by committees. So you guys take on the nightlife one, economic development, housing and land use, and we'll just to make it a little bit more digestible. So we can give a presentation to the wider board for the specific issues. So it's not like beating people over the head with a cement block of zoning.
All right, Zach.
Just as you put that out there, just know that the block of this is going to be economic development, housing and land use. So that's going to be extra work. I'm just saying.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Caitlin.
All right. Cool. Yeah, this I guess was a bit of a point of information or question, just kind of like something I've noticed. I know it's late, we all want to get out, but I guess a question I have, like, oftentimes it feels like a motion will be made, and I think it would be helpful for folks to be able to speak in favor or against or kind of say why. I feel like oftentimes we make a motion, immediately there's a second, and then suddenly we're voting, and it's like that doesn't really allow for anyone to kind of speak into the group as to why we're thinking something. So I guess it's just more of like a suggestion, if we could maybe give some time in the future before we immediately move and second something.
So thank you, Zach. I will only comment that the majority of recommendations made are based on what's discussed in the committee. All of that information is available in the committee report. The only reason why there would be something like that is if there was an alternative recommendation. So I absolutely agree, but just wanted to point those things out.
All right, one last thing then, just to say, I think this sounds like the plan, but I'm really thankful that our members here, and it sounds like there's an understanding that regardless of how we vote on this as a package in this moment, that we have more complex and in-depth thoughts and feelings about this. I just hope that we can remain in communication to deliver that feedback in a useful way.
Yeah, I guess that's my question really for Councilmember Nurse is like, what is the most helpful way after maybe not delivering line item specific recommendations tonight that we can, with the knowledge that that might mean that we then miss the City Planning Commission hearing before those recommendations are really received? How can we make those recommendations as impactful as possible to you and Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yeah, so just as I said before, I think it's really important. This is a once in a generation, huge package of changes that are going to come at us very quickly. I understand it's dense. I understand it's hard, but if you don't get into the details of it, it will happen to us. I am one vote out of 51 council members. Even if I voted no with you all against this proposal, it doesn't mean that it won't pass. So if there are things that we want to amend in the proposal, I need to have that. So I would really urge, if not tonight, I don't know how we could do anything tonight, but please make time to go through this. And I spoke with Ann, we will make our office available. We have briefing documents where we have stuff. We've spent a lot of time trying to get spoken to us from land use like we are 5-year-olds, like we ask them to speak to us like we are children, because this is hard stuff. And we have managed to get it into a bite-sized document. We'll be sharing those over tomorrow, and we will make time to sit and go through it and take all the questions to our speaker, to the administration before we move forward with anything. But, you know, making sure that time is really committed to doing that very labor intensive work. That's what we all signed up for, is to do this job. So please do that. And then additionally, we will need your voices for the public hearings. And we will try to send that out as soon as we know when they are coming online. We will encourage you all and share that.
Thank you, Councilmember. If I may make a suggestion to the board, there was some preliminary information that was prepared with myself and Mr. Camacho earlier for the committee's review and also to guide tonight's conversation. It separates out the low impact proposals, the medium impact proposals, and the high impact proposals, and also some proposed generals and feedback. This can all be shared with the board. In terms of the recommendation this evening, based on what I'm hearing, I would like to suggest, and this is just a suggestion, no, based on no time for engagement. There was no time for thorough review. There was no technical support. And then also include the stipulations and feedback from the committee and the district office, if that makes sense to folks. That I get some thumbs up. I cannot make a recommendation, so someone would need to, a board member would need to say something. So okay, so Caitlin made the recommendation. It was a motion by Mr. Stewart, second by Ms. Spellin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yes, so no, it was no, because there was no time for engagement or thorough review, and there was no technical support. And then also include stipulations or feedback from the committee, the Economic Development, Housing and Land Use Committee and District Office. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. All right. That's it for recommendations, folks, unless the board has anything else. Going once, going twice. All right, we will move on now to our old business. Any old business? Going once, going twice. No. Any new business? Going once, going twice. No. Announcements, 1.5 minutes. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Please come up to the front if you are in person. 1.5 minutes, folks. All right, I see Adam. Go ahead on Zoom.
Thank you for inviting. Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'll be short and quick. So as many as you know, the Department of Sanitation has been implementing new rules of, in regards to the way that residents and businesses are setting out their trash. So again, just a reminder, 6 p.m. in bins, 8 p.m. in bags, and businesses it's 8 p.m. in bags or an hour before closing. So we did there has been a gradual time line as far as commercial businesses setting out trash. So back in August, we did implement the rule that all food-related businesses should be using bins with secured lids. And now starting March 1st of 2024, all businesses in New York City must use bins with secure lids for trash. Not to get confused with recycling. This requirement does not apply to recyclables, but it does apply to food and trash. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll finish on Zoom since I only see one other hand. Go ahead, Juan.
Hey everyone, I'll try to make this quick. So happy New Year to everyone in Community 4. Thank you to Mr. Camacho, Celeste, and Osiris for joining Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez for the walkthrough at the new senior building. The applications will be going up. Everybody has to apply through Housing Connect. If you would like to apply for the senior housing, you could stop by our office on Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. to speak with a representative from CUF. Our office is still in active conversation about the HRA cases. If you know anyone who is having any issues with HRA benefits, please contact our office. We submitted 70 ideas for a participatory budget. We will be having a participatory budget meeting next week on the 24th at 6 p.m. at Puente in Williamsburg. If anyone is interested, please let me know if you want to be part of a participatory budget delegate. Our office will continue to host mobile office hours. We are planning the dates, and once I have them, I will send them to the community board. And then one last update. On February 21st, we will begin tax season. Constituents can begin to call our office on February 14. Just a friendly reminder, these are state taxes only for people who were not employed last year, who received Social Security, SSI, and welfare. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
I would have shut you up, but lucky you finished. Listen, we need to also when you're gonna invite to the Robert Serrano, don't forget, because I know they forgot to invite him for the walkthrough, so we want to make sure we invite him too. Thank you.
All right, and then one last thing, I think just to reinforce about the city of Yes, our office is open. So anybody who has recommendations, please reach out to our office and let us know. Thank you.
Just to let you know that in actuality, there is going to be a hearing on the city of Yes in front of the Department of City Planning Commission. It's happening on January 24th. It's both live and via Zoom. is at 120 Broadway. So this is the opportunity where community boards and the public can go and make their voices heard. They're expecting about 10 hours of hearings because this is a New York City-wide rezoning proposal. So they expect a lot. So if you do want to go in person, we suggest that you go early. It does start at 10, and it is a first come, first serve. And you have to wait until the day before in order to sign up for the Zoom component. But do check the website, their website, if you do want to go and speak at that hearing. Also, the borough boards are also voting on this particular issue because it's not a land use issue. It's not a yield. So the borough board also votes. They did not vote last month, but we were there. And so they will be again on the 6th of February, and this is a very important vote because it includes all of the chairs of the community boards plus the city council people. So we suggest that you also go to that meeting and put pressure for them to, to vote in the way that you want them to vote. Thank you. And that's at Borough Hall. What's the address of Borough Hall? Right. Okay, Joralemon Street. You guys know where it's at. And that's again at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock in Joralemon on the 6th of February. Thank you.
Hi, it's Fran, Council Nurse's Office. Discretionary funding fiscal year 24 applications are open. You can find the link on the council members' social media. Also, you can read the council members' district agenda for 2024, 2025 on social media as well. I can send you the links. I dropped them in the chat for folks on Zoom. Good night.
Good evening, everyone. I'm trying to make this real quick. My name is Jonathan. I'm here from Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez's office. I just want to start off by saying that the Biden-Harris administration announced $69 million in new funding for clean school buses, high-tech new clean school buses, $29.5 million of which will come here to New York City. So that will fund 100 new school buses and 100 new charging stations. It's a great step forward in not only improving our environment, but improving the health of our students. I also want to mention that yesterday, as Mr. Camacho mentioned, the Congresswoman hosted, in collaboration with PACE, the Small Business Development Center, a celebration to honor the expanded programming into Brooklyn. So now small businesses will have access to resources here in Brooklyn, not only small businesses, but up and coming aspiring entrepreneurs. It took place here in Bushwick, Guacuco, which is located on Irving Avenue. It was great. I want to thank Mr. Camacho for being out there. And of course, board member Rao. One more thing, let me see, Wolf Outport. So we know everyone has had concerns, not only public safety, public health, and then the outreach efforts conducted by EPA. So we had a meeting, we had Celeste and Mr. Camacho, CB4, as well as CB5 and Ridgewood to discuss this. And we're happy to say that the initial proposed route, the Knickerbocker route, has been changed because we know that is we raised those concerns at the December 11th public information session, and we're happy that that route has been changed. But besides that, I know we're all tired, we're all freezing. So have a great year, get home safe, and stay warm.
Hi, everybody. Lacey Tauber, Borough President Reynoso's office. Okay, a few things. One, community board applications are due February 19th. So if you need to reapply, please remember that date. If you wait till the next meeting, it will be too late. If you have friends or family or people that you know who want to be on the board, please spread the word. You heard earlier, we've got slots opening up and we want to fill them with good people. So please help us with that outreach. Okay, number 2, free tax prep. There's some flyers in the back. It's kind of a complicated schedule, but we're going to have these folks at our office helping people if you make $85,000 or less as a family or $59,000 or less as a single person from February 1st to April 16th. So check that out. And then also we're having a homeowner benefit and information session. If you are a homeowner or you own a co-op or a condo, you can come on Monday, February 12th to Borough Hall and learn about some resources. And then also February 13th, the next day, is our State of the Borough. So save the date for that. It's going to be at City Tech. You can RSVP on our website, brooklynbp.nyc.gov. And then one thing on the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity opportunity. We're going to have our recommendation out, I think, on Tuesday. So I will share that with you all. Hopefully it will be helpful and informative.
Hello, so Dustin again from the Arts and Culture Committee. Reminder to everybody, we're doing this archive project. If you have anything in your archives, your mom's, your grandma's, all your regrets, you found something, send it in. Email bushwickroots@gmail.com, or look around, there's QR codes around the city maybe. Send it in. We have about maybe a month left to go. So if you got any pictures, got any memories or histories, whatever, send them in. Thank you.
Hi, Virgie Jones, Youth and Education Chairperson. NYC Ladders for Leaders, New York City Youth ages 16 to 24, paid internship for the summer. Some of my students were able to participate in that. And I urge you to get your nieces, nephews, children to call 1-800-246-4646. I attended BCP's meeting the other day, and for the midwinter recess, if childcare is needed, contact their office, or either you can get a voucher from the website. And the last thing that I have, the Albany Winners Association for Black Educators of New York. We will have our celebration Bridge to Africa on February 3rd at the Camden Plaza Library downtown. And thank all of our schools that participated in the celebration. Thank you.
Good evening, Maria Valdez from Senator Julia Salazar. Upcoming events, we're having a virtual workshop February 6th from 5 to 7 with the Department of Finance that will basically talk about property tax exemptions, rent freeze. That will be follow up by in person on March 7th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Location to be confirmed. I also left flyers. We're going to have DOB at our February 27th from 10 a.m. to 4:30. Looking forward to see.
Good evening, Joanna Ben. I just want to announce that you all may have heard or may not have heard. Viola Plummer was a longtime warrior. Justice, was a member of Community Board 16 for many, many years. And she would be here fighting for the rights of all people. That's who she was. So she passed away, and I just think she was the founder of, you all know, Sisters Place, right there on Nostrand Avenue and Jefferson, founder of the December 12th movement. She's been fighting for civil rights and human rights for many, many years, and she passed away, I think she must have, on Martin Luther King's birthday. So we have lost a tree, we have lost a soldier, and if I have more information about services, I'll pass them on.
Good evening, everyone. Christopher Graham, CB4 board member. Since it is poetry night, I'll start with a brief poem. We come before you, CB4, on this day in a very special way. And we will be coming before you to let you know that we will be requesting that Elder Street between Wilson and Knickerbocker be named Oshman Long Way. So, for those of you who don't know, Oshman Long lived on Elder Street. This situation is very near and dear and close to my heart. He was a personal friend of mine. And although I do not live on that block, I've spent a lot of time on that block. And as you see behind me, these are family members, these are his brothers. And not just coming from us, but we also have a board member who lived on that block and grew up on the block, so she can attest to what we're saying. Before coming here tonight, I sat down and I wrestled as to what I was going to get up here and say and how I was going to say it. And while I was in the process of doing that, I had made mention earlier in the week to the residents of the block that we go forward and we try to pursue this. And like I said, when I was sitting down to write something, they sent me this. This came from the block, not from me. It's in honor of our brother, a man who was more than just a family man. He was the heart and soul of our community here in Bushwick, Brooklyn. He passed away recently after a short-term illness, leaving behind an irreplaceable void. Our brother wasn't just beloved family member, he was also an influential figure in our neighborhood. His construction business provided employment for many local residents, contributing significantly to the local economy and helping families thrive. More than that, he brought people together regardless of their backgrounds or differences. He fostered unity and peace within our diverse community. He organized legendary Elder Street block parties for children. He hosted barbecues, birthday celebrations, Father's Day cookouts, and weekend sporting viewing events. Bringing together families and many friends, he adopted as brothers and sisters who became extended parts of his family. His commitment to charity work spanned over 30 years, earning him affectionate titles like the president of our block and the honorary mayor of our community. He was truly a role model for all of us, and his extraordinary contributions to Bushwick deserve recognition so that his legacy may continue to inspire future generations. That's why we are proposing the renaming of our block, Elder Street, after him as a fitting tribute to his life and the work that he has done. We believe this will not only honor his memory, but will also serve as a constant reminder of the values that he stood for: unity, peace, hard work, and community spirit. And that was Ashman Long. Ashman passed away suddenly on New Year's Day. So we started the New Year's that way. And as you said, this is just the steps that we're coming before you to let you know that we'd be honored if you would allow us to do this. And so we have done the research as to the things that we need to do. So we just want to let you know that we're coming and we'll be back with everything that we need. And if anybody else wants to say something at this time.
Good evening, real fast. I met Ash about 45 years ago. He was the light of Elder Street. There was nothing that he wouldn't do for his community. The seniors, if they said it, there was something wrong with their boiler, could be the middle of the night with or without money, there was Ash. Or the block parties for the kids, just to keep the kids together. He would take out of pocket the slides, the hot dogs, just to make our little kids happy. But he was the light of Elder Street, his family. I couldn't say more about that whole family, but Ash was the light of Eldred.
I know the family very well, and the most important thing about Ash was that he was a businessman that took care of this community. There are a lot of homes in this community that he worked on, and he deserves to be honored because he gave back.
Good. Thank you.
All right, folks, it looks like that concludes our announcements for this evening. We will now move on to our second roll call. I ask as you leave, go ahead.
On another note, so those of you who may not know, I do a college tour as well, and it's the HBCU college tour. And so that is coming up. It is the week of spring break for the high school students, which is April 14th to the 21st. And what that entails is we leave from here in Brooklyn. We pick up some students in New Jersey, and then we go on a week-long trip where students are able to bring their transcripts, SAT scores, and they'll be able to go to and visit 11 different schools in a week. Whereas your parents are not going to be able to take you to 11 different schools. They might take you to one or two because, dad's got to work, mom's got to work, but so on and so forth. So the schools that we hit are, we start out in Maryland, we hit Morgan State, then we hit Bowie State, then we hit Howard University. And then the next day we're on to Virginia, where we visit Virginia State, where we actually have a student from Bushwick who is just about to graduate this coming May as a result of that tour. And by the way, we also have students who have, as a result of this tour, have graduated from each one of these schools. So we've been around for 28 years. This is going to be our 28th trip. And so after Virginia State, we go to Hampton, and then the next day we go to North Carolina A&T. And then at the night, we go to North Carolina Central, and then we go on to Virginia, where we Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark Atlanta University. And so, like I said, that tour starts. But if you have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, even if they don't go on the tour, the information that you get from the workshops is phenomenal. And the reason why I say it's phenomenal, not because of the tour, is because to our youth, they consider us old or they don't listen to us. What is the most important thing is that they're going to be listening to the students who have gone on the trip, which is their peers. So they'll be getting that information directly from them. So the name of the tour is Growing Forward. So that's growing, the word growing, and then the number 4, forward, WARD, and then that is the website, growingforward.org. If you go on there, you'll see the dates of the workshops. The first workshop is this weekend, this coming Saturday. So with that being said, thank you very much. I appreciate y'all, and thank you for inviting me back to CB4. Appreciate you.
All right, we know everyone wants to leave. Board members, if you can quietly start to get ready to go. And this is the second roll call. Please be ready. Tashana Wade. Jerry Valentine.
Present, good night.
Ben Tucker.
Keep this place clean. Make sure you pick up your stuff because this is a senior
Okay,
building.
Mr. Camacho, I can't say people's names. Jessica Tiburcio. James Stewart. Annette Spellin. Dustin Sonborn. Maria Soler. Barbara Smith. Bernadina Shell. Milagro Sandoval. Eliseo Ruiz. Raul Rubio. Kaylin Penner. Levi Ornstein Wolf. Zuma Navoa.
President, good night.
Desmond Monroe. Mary McClellan. Raman Mama. Christine Malden. Edward Kopp. Nicholas Kaplan. Luisa Jose. Virgie Jones. Tara Jones Thomas. Taisha Johnson. Barbara Jackson. Tanisha Honeygan.
Present.
Zachary Hendrickson. Ann Guiney. Christopher Graham. Joanna Fuentes.
Present.
Thank you, Joanna. Cecilia Fabian. Jasmine de Santiago Diaz. Alvina Davis.
Present.
Andrew Choi. Christian C. Tate. Felix Ceballos. Melissa Carrera Solano. Robert Camacho. Robert Camacho. Raul Brown. Makiba Brown Elaine. Joshua Brown. Joanna Bennett. Stephanie Anderson. Isa Abney. Motion to adjourn, please. Barbara Jackson makes a motion. Is there a second? Michelle, favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Good night. 9:44. Good night, everyone.